If you don't subscribe to the channel, all the stories will happen to you. Get ready for the nightmare. It started on a morning like any other. Anna Williams, a young professional who had recently moved to a quiet neighborhood, had settled into a routine. Every day, she left her house at 7 sharp, coffee in hand, ready to tackle another day at work. She enjoyed the calm her new home provided. But that morning, something shattered her usual sense of peace. As she opened her front door, her eyes were immediately drawn to something that shouldn't have been there. Dark red stains smeared across her doorstep. At first, Anna tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was paint, a prank gone wrong, or even some sort of accident involving an animal. Yet, the longer she stared at it, the less those explanations made sense. The stains were thick, dark, and disordered, like someone or something had spilled blood and then hastily tried to clean it. A chill ran up Anna's spine as she examined the scene. The quiet street she had grown to love suddenly felt unnervingly different. Curiosity and a rising sense of dread pushed Anna to her knees for a closer look. She didn't dare touch the stains, but the need to understand overpowered her fear. The world around her seemed eerily still, and even the soft rustling of leaves in the yard sounded unsettling in the silence. Anna, a practical and rational woman, knew something was off, but she didn't know where to begin. As she glanced around, a strange feeling washed over her, like she was being watched. The curtains of nearby houses were drawn tight, and for the first time, she wondered if her neighbors knew more than she did. She resisted the urge to clean the stains. Something about them seemed too deliberate, too sinister to erase without answers. Closing the door behind her, she was gripped by a new kind of unease. Who had left them there? Why? Was she being watched? Marked for something she couldn't yet comprehend? Anna had no way of knowing this was just the beginning, and that the stains were the first of many disturbing signs to come. The rest of her day was filled with distractions. At work, her thoughts drifted back to those stains. She avoided speaking to her neighbors, partly out of fear of what she might learn. When she returned home that evening, the stains were still there, now dry and darker. Determined to get to the bottom of it, Anna took out her phone and snapped several photos. Something told her this was no ordinary event, and that more was to follow. And she was right. The next morning, the stains remained on her doorstep, unchanged but somehow more menacing in the early light. Anna found herself unable to ignore the growing weight of curiosity mixed with dread. The night before, she had done some online research, trying to find logical explanations, stray animals, neighborhood pranks, but nothing quite fit. There was no mention of anything like this happening in the area, which only deepened her unease. Determined to uncover the source of the bloodstains, Anna decided to take action. She began by reaching out to a few of her neighbors, though her unease told her they might not be entirely forthcoming. Her first stop was Mrs. Harlow, the elderly woman who lived next door. She had always been friendly, often waving at Anna when she left for work, but today her demeanor seemed off, nervous, almost evasive. "Oh, the stains," Mrs. Harlow said when Anna brought them up. "Probably just kids messing around. You know how they are." But her eyes shifted away, and she quickly changed the subject to the weather. Anna felt a twinge of suspicion. Mrs. Harlow clearly knew something, but wasn't willing to talk about it. Anna continued down the street, knocking on a few more doors. Most people offered vague answers, claiming they hadn't noticed anything or dismissing the stains as some odd, forgettable occurrence. Yet, in their eyes, she saw the same nervous flicker. It was as if the entire neighborhood had agreed not to discuss what was happening, and that made it even more unsettling. Returning home with no real answers, Anna sat down at her kitchen table, frustrated. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was missing something important, some clue that would make sense of everything. As she scrolled through her phone, reviewing the pictures of the stains she had taken, she noticed something odd in the background of one of the photos. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but there a shadow. A figure standing near the corner of her yard, barely visible behind the bushes. Anna hadn't noticed it when she took the photo, but now it sent a fresh wave of anxiety through her. Who had been standing there? And why hadn't she seen them before? Heart pounding, she rushed to the window and peered outside, scanning the area where the figure had been. Nothing. The street was as quiet as ever, with no sign of anyone watching. But the image burned in her mind, a reminder that something or someone was observing her. The discovery left Anna shaken. She knew she couldn't let it slide. Something was happening, something that went beyond a simple stain on her doorstep. Later that evening, she sat down at her laptop, determined to dig deeper. She searched local news archives, crime reports, anything that could give her a lead. Hours passed with little success until one article caught her attention. It was a brief mention of a man who had gone missing in the neighborhood years ago. His last known location had been a few streets away from Anna's house. The case had gone cold, and there were no details about foul play, but the timeline and proximity struck her as too close to ignore. That night, as Anna lay in bed, her mind raced. The missing man, the stains, the shadow in the photo, were they connected? Was someone leaving a message? And if so, why target her? Sleep did not come easily, as every creak of the house made her heart skip. She found herself staring at the door, half expecting to see more blood, or worse, something, or someone, waiting on the other side. By the time the sun rose, Anna was more determined than ever to find answers. The stains were still there, mocking her with their presence. She realized she needed to expand her search. The neighborhood, as quiet as it seemed, held secrets, and she was starting to believe they went far deeper than she had first thought. Anna's next step was clear. She needed help. But who could she trust when everyone seemed intent on keeping the truth buried? Anna woke the next day with a new sense of determination. The pieces of the puzzle were still scattered, but she felt closer to understanding the bigger picture. The stains on her doorstep weren't random, nor were they some neighborhood prank. There was a story here, one that had been carefully hidden, and she was caught in the middle of it. Her first task was to follow the lead about the missing man. His name was Gregory Marshall, and though the article mentioned his disappearance years ago, there had to be more to his story. Anna spent the morning reaching out to local law enforcement, only to be met with stone walls and silence. The case was closed, they told her, with no new evidence or developments. Frustrated, she decided to visit the local library to dig deeper into Gregory's past. At the library, she pored over old newspapers and community records, hoping to find something, anything, that connected his disappearance to her doorstep. Hours passed, and just as she was beginning to lose hope, she stumbled upon an obscure reference buried in an old community forum. It wasn't much, just a passing mention that Gregory had been seen at a particular house on the night he disappeared. Anna's heart skipped when she read the address. It was her house. The revelation left her reeling. How had she not known this before? The real estate agent had been vague about the house's history, but she never imagined something this serious could be tied to it. Suddenly, her once peaceful home felt like a stage for a dark mystery, with her at the center of it all. On the way back home, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. The familiar streets, once filled with a comforting stillness, now felt suffocating. Every passerby seemed suspicious, every noise too loud. As she turned the corner to her street, her heart sank. The bloodstains on her doorstep had multiplied. There were now several new smears, darker and more pronounced than before. Panic surged through her as she realized someone had been there, deliberately leaving more marks. The stains were fresh. Whoever had done this wasn't just leaving clues. They were playing a twisted game, and Anna was the unwilling participant. Anna rushed inside, locking the door behind her and checking all the windows. Her pulse raced as she considered calling the police, but then a thought stopped her cold. What if they were involved in whatever was happening? The way they had dismissed Gregory's case so quickly seemed too convenient. She couldn't risk trusting anyone yet, not until she had more information. That night, unable to sleep, Anna took out her laptop again and began searching for any other strange occurrences in her neighborhood. She uncovered a pattern. In the last decade, there had been several unexplained incidents involving blood. Small traces found in front of homes, on cars, and even in parks. None of the incidents were ever solved, and each case seemed to disappear quietly from the public eye. As she scrolled through the articles, one detail jumped out. Each occurrence happened within a few streets of her home. It was as if her house, or something near it, was the epicenter of these events. The connection to Gregory's disappearance suddenly felt even stronger. Was it possible that others had vanished, only for their stories to be silenced? In the midst of her research, A loud thud came from outside. Anna froze, her heart pounding as the noise reverberated through the stillness of her house. Grabbing her phone, she cautiously moved toward the front window, peeking out through a crack in the curtains. There, on her porch, stood a figure. The silhouette was tall, motionless, and cloaked in shadow. Whoever it was, they were standing just feet away from the stains, as if examining them. Fear surged through Anna, but before she could react, the figure turned and walked away, disappearing into the darkness without a sound. Shaken, Anna backed away from the window, her mind racing. Whoever was behind this wasn't just leaving messages. They were watching her, making sure she knew they were in control. The figure's presence made it clear. Anna was being targeted, and the stains on her doorstep were only the beginning of what was to come. The next morning, she knew she couldn't face this alone. Desperate for help, she reached out to an old friend, Mark, who worked as a private investigator. Mark had dealt with strange cases before, and she trusted him more than anyone else. When she explained the situation, he was intrigued but cautious, agreeing to meet her at her house the following day. As she waited for Mark's arrival, Anna couldn't shake the overwhelming feeling that time was running out. The stains were a warning, and whatever was behind them was closing in. She didn't know what the next step would be, but she was sure of one thing. The quiet life she had once known was gone, and a far darker reality had taken its place. The following morning, Anna anxiously awaited Mark's arrival. She had hardly slept after the shadowy figure had appeared on her porch, and the tension that gripped her was becoming unbearable. Each time she looked at the bloodstains, her mind raced with theories, but nothing made sense. Why had Gregory Marshall disappeared from her house? What did these stains mean, and why had they started appearing now? When Mark finally knocked on her door, Anna practically yanked it open. His familiar face brought a momentary sense of relief, but even Mark's calm, analytical demeanor couldn't mask the concern in his eyes when she showed him the porch. "These stains, there's something strange about them," Mark said, kneeling down to examine the dark smears more closely. He ran his gloved fingers across the surface of the wood. "It's definitely blood, but it's not just one source. It looks like multiple different samples." Anna's stomach churned. Multiple sources of blood? That revelation only made things worse. Mark stood up and wiped his hands clean. "We need to take a step back and figure out who might be behind this. I'll look into Gregory Marshall, see what I can dig up. But I also think we need to check your house's history more thoroughly. There could be something tied to the property that we're missing." Together, they dove into the house's records, tracing its history back decades. What they uncovered left Anna speechless. The house had once belonged to a family who vanished under mysterious circumstances nearly 50 years ago. The records were sparse, with few details about the investigation. But what stood out was that the disappearance had never been solved. Even more disturbing was that, after the family vanished, the house remained unsold for years, as if locals had avoided it. Only in the last 20 years had the property changed hands several times, each owner leaving within a short span, selling the house for far less than it was worth. "There's a pattern here," Mark said, leaning back in his chair. "It's like everyone who lived here either fled or disappeared, and now you're caught up in it." Anna's mind swirled with the implications. The stains on her doorstep weren't just some recent prank. They were part of something far older, far darker. The house was cursed, haunted by whatever had happened to that family and Gregory Marshall. But why now? Why had these stains started appearing after all this time? The answer came later that night. It was late, and the house was unnervingly quiet. Mark had left earlier, promising to return with more information. Anna sat on the couch, her nerves frayed, when suddenly there was a soft tapping on the door. Her heart jumped into her throat. She knew better than to answer it, especially after what she had seen the night before. Instead, she crept toward the window, peeking out through a crack in the blinds. There, standing in the shadows, was the same figure. Only this time, they weren't alone. Behind them stood a second person, taller, broader, and just as obscured by the darkness. Anna's breath caught in her throat. Whoever they weren't just watching anymore. They were coming for her. As she watched, frozen in fear, the first figure knelt down, their hands reaching toward the ground. They were painting something on her doorstep, new bloodstains. But this time, the marks were deliberate, as if they were writing something. Without thinking, Anna bolted toward the front door. She grabbed the knob and flung it open, the cold night air rushing inside. The figures didn't move, but their heads turned in unison, their faces hidden beneath dark hoods. "Who are you?" Anna shouted, her voice shaking. "What do you want?" The figures remained silent. Then, as if in response, one of them stepped forward and extended a hand. In the dim light, Anna saw something small and metallic gleaming in their palm, a key. Before she could react, the figure dropped it on the porch and vanished into the night, the second person following close behind. Anna stood frozen in the doorway, her eyes locked on the key lying on the blood-stained wood. What was this? A message? A clue? Slowly, she reached down and picked it up, her mind racing. The key was old, tarnished, and heavy. She had never seen it before, but it looked like it belonged to something ancient, something hidden. Her hands trembled as she examined it more closely. There was an engraving on the side, barely visible through the grime. It read, "Basement." Anna's blood ran cold. Her house didn't have a basement, or at least, that's what she had always thought. With trembling hands, she searched the house, trying to figure out where the key might fit. Hours passed, and just when she was about to give up, she noticed something she had never paid attention to before: a small, inconspicuous door beneath the stairs. It had always been painted over, blending into the wall, but now that she knew what to look for, it stood out like a glaring sign. Her heart pounded as she inserted the key into the lock. It turned with a soft click, and the door creaked open, revealing a set of narrow, stone steps leading down into the darkness. Anna's breath hitched. The air that wafted up from below was stale and damp, as if the basement had been sealed off for years. She hesitated at the top of the stairs, the key still clutched in her hand, but she knew she had no choice. Whatever answers lay down there, she had to find them. Slowly, she descended into the darkness, her flashlight cutting through the thick shadows. The walls were rough stone, damp to the touch, and the further she went, the colder it became. At the bottom, the space opened up into a small, dimly lit room. In the center stood an old wooden chest, its surface covered in dust and cobwebs. Anna approached it cautiously, her heart thudding in her chest. She knelt down and, with trembling hands, lifted the lid. What she saw inside made her scream. Anna's scream echoed off the cold stone walls of the hidden basement. Her flashlight flickered as her shaking hands tried to process what was inside the chest. It was not the contents themselves that made her blood run cold, but the overwhelming horror of the implications they carried. Inside the chest lay bundles of old, yellowed photographs, brittle with age. Each photograph told a story of terror, pictures of people, families who had once lived in this house. Every one of them was posed on the doorstep where Anna had found the mysterious bloodstains, but their faces were frozen in fear, their eyes wide with terror. In some of the images, dark stains marked the wood beneath their feet, just like the one she had seen night after night. But it wasn't just the photographs. Beneath them, wrapped carefully in layers of cloth, were objects, pieces of jewelry, children's toys, a dusty wedding ring. These were relics of lives once lived, forgotten beneath her own home. The realization hit her like a tidal wave. The figures outside her house weren't just watching her. They were keeping a vigil, tied to a horror that spanned generations. But what terrified her most was the final item in the chest. It was an old journal, the leather cover cracked and worn with time. Anna flipped it open, her heart hammering in her chest. The pages were filled with the cramped, slanted handwriting of someone long gone, someone desperate to tell their story. And as she read, the terrible truth began to unfold. The journal belonged to the first family that had lived in the house, the Callows. According to the journal, they had been haunted by strange events from the moment they moved in. Bloodstains had appeared on their doorstep, just like the ones Anna had found, and every night they heard the same sound she had heard: the tapping, the footsteps, the whispers. But the journal detailed something even more horrifying. The Callows had been visited by a mysterious figure, a man who claimed to be a guardian of the house. He had told them the truth about the property. The house had been built on cursed land, a place where ancient, forgotten rituals had been performed. The bloodstains were part of those rituals, and anyone who lived in the house was bound to the curse, doomed to experience the same horrors. The man had warned them to leave, but it was already too late. They had become part of the cycle, just as Anna had. As she reached the final entry, Anna's breath caught in her throat. The last words of the journal chilled her to the core. "We tried to leave, but the house won't let us go. The blood has claimed us, and soon it will claim you too." The flashlight in Anna's hand flickered again, and in the sudden darkness, she heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps coming down the stairs. Her pulse quickened as she spun around, the beam of her flashlight shaking as it scanned the empty basement. But there was no one there, just the heavy silence that seemed to press in from all sides. Suddenly, the door at the top of the stairs slammed shut, plunging her into total darkness. Anna's breath came in shallow gasps. She stumbled backward, the chest and its horrifying contents forgotten as she tried to find her way back up the stairs. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't find the steps. It was as if the basement had swallowed them, trapping her in the cold, damp void beneath her own house. And then she heard it again, the whispering. But this time it wasn't coming from outside. It was all around her, circling her, growing louder with every passing second. The voices were low, insistent, like the murmurs of people long dead, speaking from beyond the grave. Anna clutched her flashlight like a lifeline, her mind racing. She had to get out. She had to escape the house before it claimed her, just like it had claimed the others. But deep down, she knew the truth. The house wasn't going to let her leave. Not now. Not ever. The whispers grew louder, forming words she couldn't quite understand. Her heart pounded in her chest, her thoughts spiraling into panic. And then, as if from the depths of her own fear, she heard the unmistakable creak of the basement door opening again. She turned slowly, her flashlight illuminating the figure that now stood at the top of the stairs. It was the same figure from before, the one who had left the key on her doorstep, the one who had been watching her for nights on end. But now, in the dim glow of the flashlight, Anna could see their face. It was pale, gaunt, their eyes hollow and sunken as if they had been drained of life itself. And yet, there was something familiar about them, something that made Anna's skin crawl. The figure raised their hand, pointing directly at her. And in that moment, Anna understood this wasn't just about the house. It wasn't just about the bloodstains or the figures that had haunted her. This was about the curse, a curse that had claimed the Calloways, the Marshalls, and countless others before her. And now it had come for her. The figure's mouth moved, but the words were drowned out by the rising tide of whispers. Anna took a step back, her mind screaming for her to run, but her body was frozen in place. She could feel the weight of the house pressing down on her, suffocating her, pulling her deeper into its dark history. And then, just as quickly as it had started, everything stopped. The whispers fell silent. The figure lowered their hand, and the oppressive weight that had held Anna in place lifted. For a brief, fleeting moment, she felt as if she could move again, as if she had a chance to escape. But as she turned toward the stairs, the basement door slammed shut once more, sealing her fate. The house had made its choice. Anna's story may be over, but for you, the mystery continues. What lies behind the cursed history of this house? How far would you go to uncover the dark truths hidden beneath your own home? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chilling tale. Your support helps us bring more terrifying stories to life. It was one of those quiet afternoons, the kind that stretches on, where the world outside seems almost too still. Max had always enjoyed the peace of living in a small town. The distant hum of lawnmowers, the occasional bark of a dog, and the rustling of leaves made up the soundtrack of his everyday life. But lately, there was a subtle shift in that peace, something he couldn't quite place. Max sat at his kitchen table, staring out the window at his backyard. The sun was low in the sky, casting long shadows across the overgrown grass. His dog, Tucker, usually spent these afternoons lounging by the door, but today he was restless. Every few minutes, Tucker would growl softly, his eyes darting toward the corner of the room. "What's gotten into you, boy?" Max muttered, tossing a piece of his sandwich toward the dog, hoping to distract him. Tucker didn't move. His growling grew more insistent, and for the first time, Max noticed that Tucker wasn't growling at the door or the windows. He was staring at the hallway, specifically at the darkened spot just beyond the kitchen, where the light from the living room didn't quite reach. Max's eyes followed his dog's gaze, and a chill ran down his spine. The hallway was empty, as it always was, but something about the way Tucker was acting put him on edge. He stood up slowly, his heart beginning to race as he walked toward the hall. Tucker let out a low whine, his growling fading as Max got closer. "Nothing here," Max said, more to himself than to the dog, but even as the words left his mouth, he didn't fully believe them. The house was old, creaky. Maybe it was just the settling of the wood, or maybe Tucker was sensing a mouse or something, but deep down, Max knew it was more than that. He lingered in the hallway listening. The silence felt too heavy, like it was pressing in on him from all sides. His skin prickled as if someone, or something, was watching him, just out of sight. Shrugging off the feeling, Max headed back into the kitchen. But Tucker's behavior only worsened. The dog paced back and forth, growling more intensely now, his hackles raised. Max tried everything, offering treats, calling him over to sit, but nothing worked. It was as if Tucker was seeing something Max couldn't. That night, after the sun had set and the house was bathed in darkness, Max lay in bed, wide awake. Tucker had finally calmed down, curled up at the foot of the bed, but Max's mind was racing. Every creak of the floorboards, every soft thump of the walls expanding in the cool night air seemed louder, more deliberate. At some point, exhaustion overtook him, and he drifted into an uneasy sleep. He woke suddenly, his heart pounding. The room was pitch black, save for the faint glow of the moonlight filtering in through the window. For a moment, he lay there, trying to figure out what had jolted him awake. Tucker was still asleep, his breathing slow and even. But Max felt it. That same sensation from earlier, the feeling of being watched. His eyes darted around the room, scanning the shadows. He told himself it was just his imagination, but then he heard it. A soft, almost imperceptible sound, like the rustling of fabric. It came from the hallway. Max sat up, his pulse quickening. He strained to hear it again, but there was only silence. He debated with himself. Should he get up and check? Or was he just being paranoid? His phone buzzed on the nightstand, startling him. It was a text, but when he looked at the screen, there was no name, no number, just a single word. Awake. Max's blood turned to ice. He stared at the message, trying to rationalize it. Maybe it was a glitch, a wrong number, but deep down, he knew that wasn't the case. He tapped out a response, his fingers trembling slightly. Who is this? A moment passed, then another buzz. I'm close. Max's breath caught in his throat. He threw the blankets off and rushed to the door, flinging it open and stepping into the hallway. The house was dark, the shadows long and eerie in the moonlight, but nothing seemed out of place. He glanced at Tucker, who was now standing in the doorway of the bedroom. His ears perked up, alert but not aggressive. Max crept toward the front door, his heart thudding in his chest. He peered through the peephole, expecting to see someone standing there, but the porch was empty. He opened the door slightly, just enough to look outside, but there was nothing. The street was quiet, the houses dark, everyone in the neighborhood fast asleep. But as he closed the door, he noticed something that made his blood run cold. A single, fresh handprint smeared on the glass. A handprint too small to be his own. Max couldn't sleep after the incident with the handprint. He stayed up the rest of the night, pacing the floor, checking the locks, and glancing out of the window, hoping to catch a glimpse of whoever, or whatever, had left that mark. Tucker had settled back into his usual spot, but Max's mind refused to rest. By morning, the handprint had vanished. He stood in front of the glass door, running his fingers over the surface where the print had been. There was no smudge, no trace that anything had ever been there. Max grabbed his phone and took a picture of the door anyway, just in case. He couldn't shake the feeling that something strange was happening. At work, Max found it hard to focus. His co-workers noticed him zoning out during meetings, his thoughts far from the spreadsheets and office banter. When his boss asked if everything was all right, Max brushed it off, claiming it was just a bad night's sleep. But that wasn't the truth, and he knew it. Back at home, the silence weighed on him. Every small noise, the creak of the floorboards, the hum of the refrigerator, made his nerves jump. He decided to distract himself, turning on the TV and collapsing onto the couch. Tucker lay at his feet, but Max could tell the dog was still on edge. His ears perked up every few minutes, and his eyes remained locked on that same dark corner of the hallway. Max tried to lose himself in the mindless chatter of a sitcom, but his attention kept drifting back to that hallway. Something was off. He could feel it in the pit of his stomach, a sense of dread gnawing at him. Every instinct screamed at him to get up and check, but fear kept him glued to his seat. Hours passed, and as the sun set, Max felt the unease grow stronger. He had always considered himself rational, not the type to jump at shadows. But what had happened last night couldn't be explained away so easily. The handprint, the strange text messages, they were pieces of a puzzle that didn't fit together, and the more he thought about it, the more paranoid he became. That night, he set up a camera facing the front door. If something or someone was messing with him, he was determined to catch it. The camera was a cheap security model he had bought a few months ago, mostly as a deterrent for package thieves, but he figured it could serve a better purpose now. After checking that it was working, Max went to bed, though sleep didn't come easily. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening. Hours crawled by, and just as he felt himself starting to drift off, the soft buzz of his phone pulled him back into full awareness. Another text message. Max's heart raced as he reached for the phone, his hands shaking slightly. The message was from the same unknown number as before. This time, it simply read, "Don't look outside." Max's pulse quickened. He sat up in bed, glancing toward the window, the curtains drawn tight. His mind raced with possibilities. Was someone out there right now, watching him? Was this some kind of twisted game? Despite the warning, his curiosity got the better of him. He slowly climbed out of bed, his movements careful and quiet. Tucker whined softly from the floor, sensing Max's anxiety. Max tiptoed to the window, his breath shallow, and with trembling hands, he pulled the curtain aside, just enough to peek outside. Nothing. The street was empty, just like before. The trees swayed slightly in the breeze, and the faint glow of streetlights illuminated the sidewalk. No sign of anyone. Max let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding, but as he stepped back, his phone buzzed again. "I told you not to look." Max froze. His heart thundered in his chest. He whipped around, scanning the room, but it was empty. How could they know? Was there a camera somewhere? Was he being watched? Panicking, he grabbed his phone and called the number. It rang once, twice, 3 times, and then the call disconnected. No voicemail, no answer. He tried again, but this time, the line was dead. Max stood there, gripping the phone so tightly his knuckles turned white. What was happening? His mind raced, desperately searching for a rational explanation, but nothing made sense. He checked the camera feed on his phone. There was no movement by the front door, no signs of life outside. But then he noticed something. At the edge of the camera's view, just outside the frame, there was a faint shadow. It wasn't moving, but it was there, just barely visible in the dim light from the porch. Max squinted at the screen, trying to make out what it was. But the more he stared, the more uneasy he felt. The shadow didn't belong to any object he recognized. He couldn't shake the feeling that it was watching him. Max scrambled to the front door, his heart pounding in his ears. He flung the door open, his eyes darting around, searching for the source of the shadow. But again, there was nothing. Just the quiet street, the empty night. He shut the door, locking it tightly. His hands were shaking, adrenaline surging through him. He was losing control of the situation, and he didn't know how to stop it. That night, sleep was impossible. Max spent hours checking the camera, staring at the feed, waiting for something to happen. But the shadow never returned, and by morning, he was exhausted, his nerves frayed. The next few days passed in a blur. Max couldn't focus on anything. Not his work, not his friends, not even Tucker. He was consumed by the mystery of the messages, the shadow, the handprint that had disappeared without a trace. It was all he could think about. And then, just as suddenly as it had started, the messages stopped. For 2 days, there was nothing. No warnings, no cryptic texts. Max hoped that maybe whatever it was, it had passed. Maybe it was just a prank, or maybe he had imagined the whole thing. But deep down, he knew better. The silence was only the beginning. Max's sense of relief was short-lived. The absence of messages created a false sense of security. But it only took one unsettling event to unravel everything he thought he had put behind him. It began with an innocuous knock at the door, a sound that sent his heart racing. Max had just returned home from work, exhausted and on edge. He set his briefcase down, taking a moment to breathe deeply and shake off the lingering anxiety. Tucker was unusually quiet, perched at the edge of the couch, ears perked up and body tense. Max's instincts flared. Something was off. He was still contemplating whether to check the security footage when the knock came again, more insistent this time. Max hesitated, his mind racing with possibilities. Who could it be? He wasn't expecting anyone. He walked cautiously toward the door, peering through the peephole. A figure stood on the porch, partially obscured by the dim light. Max could only make out the outline of a person, a hooded sweatshirt, hands shoved deep into pockets. Anxiety clawed at him. He opened the door a crack, enough to see better, but still shielded. "Can I help you?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. The figure looked up, and for a moment, their face was obscured by the shadow of the hood. "I need to talk to you," came the voice, muffled and tense. Max's heart thudded in his chest. There was something unsettling about this stranger. About what? "It's important. Can I come in?" The figure shifted, glancing nervously down the street. Max took a step back, feeling the weight of uncertainty pressing down on him. "I'm not sure that's a good idea." The figure hesitated, then pulled back the hood, revealing a young woman with wide, anxious eyes. "Please. It's about what's been happening to you." Max's breath caught in his throat. "How do you know about that?" "I've been watching," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're in danger." The seriousness in her tone sent a shiver down Max's spine. He opened the door a little wider, letting her step inside. The last thing he wanted was to be alone right now. "What do you mean?" The woman glanced back at the door, as if ensuring no one was watching, then leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "I'm Amelia. I live 2 doors down. I've seen the shadow." Max frowned, confusion mixing with apprehension. "Shadow? What shadow?" "The one that follows you," she said, glancing around the living room, her expression tense. "It watches you, Max. It's been following you for weeks." "How do you know my name?" he asked, his heart pounding. "I overheard you talking to your friends the other night," she explained, her eyes wide and earnest. "I saw you at the coffee shop too. You looked off, like you were being hunted." "Okay, but what does this shadow want with me?" Max felt a wave of disbelief crash over him, but the sincerity in Amelia's gaze kept him anchored. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly, "but I've seen it lurking. It's not just a figment of your imagination. It's real, and it feeds off fear." Max's mind raced with questions. "Why are you telling me this? What do you know about it?" Amelia took a deep breath, steeling herself. "My brother had a similar experience. He moved away to escape it, but I couldn't. I thought it would leave me alone, but it didn't. I've tried to warn others, but no one believes me." "Why should I believe you?" Max challenged, crossing his arms defensively. "Because I know what it's like to feel watched. To feel like something is out there, just waiting," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I came here because I don't want you to go through what I did. You need to protect yourself." Max couldn't shake the feeling that Amelia was sincere, but he also felt a deep sense of dread. "How do I protect myself?" Amelia looked around the room, her eyes landing on Tucker, who was now sniffing at her shoes. "You need to confront it. It thrives on fear, and as long as you're afraid, it will keep coming back." Confronting a shadow felt impossible, but Max had reached his breaking point. He had already lost too much sleep, too much peace. "What do I need to do?" "Don't let it intimidate you. You have to face it, and you have to let others know what you're going through. You're not alone in this," she urged, her voice resolute. Max nodded, a mix of determination and fear coursing through him. "I'll try, but I have to know more about this shadow. If it's been following me, I need to understand why." "That's the first step," Amelia said, her expression softening slightly. "Knowledge is power, but first you have to find a way to expose it, to draw it out. Maybe set a trap. A trap? Max echoed, his stomach twisting at the thought. Yeah, it can't resist the allure of fear. If it knows you're aware of it, it might reveal itself. We can work together. Max felt a flicker of hope in the pit of his stomach. Maybe he wasn't completely alone after all. All right, let's do it. The two of them spent the next few hours discussing strategies, drawing on a whiteboard Max had in his study. They plotted out different scenarios, laying out potential traps to lure the shadow into the open. It felt strange to be planning such an absurd confrontation, but with Amelia's input, he felt more confident. As they brainstormed, Max felt a flicker of something he hadn't experienced in days. Control. If he could confront this shadow, maybe he could reclaim his life. But as night fell, that confidence began to wane. Max couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, and a glance at the security camera confirmed it. The footage showed a shifting darkness just outside the door. It wasn't visible enough to discern anything, but the undeniable presence made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. Amelia noticed his discomfort. It's already here, isn't it? Max nodded, swallowing hard. I think so. Let's put the plan into action then, she said, her eyes narrowing in determination. They set up the cameras, ensuring they had multiple angles covering the front porch. Amelia insisted on placing a mirror outside, claiming that shadows could be more easily revealed when reflected in light. They used flashlights to illuminate the area, creating a stage of sorts, drawing out the hidden menace. As the night deepened, they settled in, tension palpable in the air. Max's heart raced as they waited, the darkness creeping in around them. It felt like a trap had been set, but the question remained. Would it work? Every creak of the house and rustle of leaves outside set Max's nerves on edge. Tucker lay curled up by the couch, occasionally lifting his head as if sensing the growing tension. Minutes turned to hours, and just when Max thought they might have to abandon the mission, something shifted in the shadows outside. A figure began to materialize just at the edge of the porch light. It was tall, distorted, with a form that flickered like a candle flame. Max's breath hitched as he felt an overwhelming surge of dread wash over him. Amelia took a step closer to the door, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and resolve. This is it, she whispered, barely audible above the pounding of Max's heart. We have to confront it. Max swallowed hard, adrenaline surging through his veins. What do we do? Show it you're not afraid, she said, her voice steady despite the terror etched on her face. Max forced himself to take a step forward, every instinct screaming at him to retreat. The shadow writhed, an amorphous shape that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. But he wasn't going to let fear control him anymore. He took a deep breath, his voice trembling but resolute. I know you're there. I'm not afraid of you. The shadow paused, as if considering his words. For a fleeting moment, the air thickened, and Max felt a cold chill wash over him. Then, with a sudden rush, the figure surged forward, barreling toward the porch. Max stumbled back, heart racing as he stumbled over his own feet. The shadow enveloped the light, swallowing the space hole. But Amelia stood her ground, reaching for the mirror they had placed outside. Now, she shouted. She angled the mirror just right, catching the faintest glimmer of light, and with it, the shadow flickered, as if caught in a bright flash. Max's heart raced as he realized the shadow was hesitating, almost recoiling from the brightness. This is it, Amelia urged, her voice firm. Keep it there. Max took a deep breath, summoning all his courage. You don't scare me. I'm taking back my life. As if responding to his words, the shadow began to shift violently, contorting in the light. It writhed and twisted, a chaos of darkness that seemed to clash against the light. Max felt a surge of triumph mixed with terror. They were getting through to it, but just as quickly as it began, the shadow recoiled, vanishing into the darkness with a deafening silence. The porch fell still, the oppressive atmosphere dissipating as if a weight had been lifted. Max and Amelia stood in stunned silence, hearts racing. Had they succeeded? Did it work? Max breathed, eyes wide. I think so, Amelia replied, scanning the area cautiously. But it's not over. It's just hiding. Max nodded, feeling the weight of their victory mixed with the realization that the battle was far from finished. They had faced the darkness together, but now they had to prepare for what was next. In the days that followed, Max and Amelia felt a fragile sense of victory. The shadow had retreated, but its presence lingered like a phantom in their minds. Max spent his nights poring over old texts, researching shadows and entities that fed off fear, while Amelia scoured online forums for any accounts of similar experiences. They became unlikely allies, their shared determination driving them to uncover the truth behind the darkness. Max's sleep remained elusive. His dreams were riddled with shadowy figures and fragmented whispers. He often woke in a cold sweat, feeling as though something was lurking just beyond the edge of consciousness, waiting for the right moment to strike. The constant anxiety took its toll, fraying his nerves and leaving him on edge. He found solace only in Amelia's company, her resolve providing a much-needed anchor amid the chaos. One fateful evening, as they sifted through an old book Max had borrowed from the local library, Amelia's eyes widened as she stumbled upon a passage that chilled her to the bone. "Max, look at this," she exclaimed, her finger tracing the faded ink. "It says here that shadows can be drawn to places of trauma, pain, or unresolved fear. They feed off that energy, growing stronger as they instill terror." Max leaned in closer, feeling the weight of her words. "That explains why it's been following me. I've been dealing with so much lately, my job, the breakup. I didn't realize how much I was letting fear control me." Amelia nodded, her gaze intense. "If we can identify the source of your fear, we might be able to weaken its hold on you." Max felt a tremor of doubt run through him. "But how do we do that? I've tried to push those feelings aside, to ignore them." "Confront them head on," she suggested. "You need to acknowledge the pain and trauma, not just bury it. Only then can we weaken the shadow's grip." Max's heart raced at the thought. He had been avoiding his feelings for so long, preferring to bury himself in work rather than face the ghosts of his past. But the shadow was a constant reminder that running wouldn't protect him. "Okay, I'll try, but I'm not sure I'm ready." "You don't have to do it alone," Amelia reassured him, her expression softening. "I'll be with you every step of the way." That night, Max sat in the living room, surrounded by dim light and shadows that danced across the walls. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for the challenge ahead. With Amelia by his side, he began to reflect on his past, peeling back layers of hurt that had long been buried. He thought about the breakup, the betrayal that had left him feeling raw and exposed. Memories of laughter turned to echoes of anger, heartbreak, and confusion. He felt the weight of those emotions crashing over him, a tidal wave of pain that threatened to engulf him. "Just breathe," Amelia whispered, her presence grounding him. "You're safe here." Max focused on his breathing, allowing the memories to wash over him. As he faced the shadows of his past, he felt something shift within him. The pain was still there, but so was a flicker of resolve. He began to speak, voicing his fears aloud for the first time. "I was blindsided by my ex," he confessed, his voice trembling. "I thought I knew her. I let her in, and she shattered everything. I don't want to feel that way again." Amelia nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. "It's okay to feel hurt. You're not weak for acknowledging it. It makes you human." With each word, Max felt a weight lift, and the shadows around him began to tremble, as if sensing a shift in energy. He continued to share his fears, his anxiety about work, the loneliness that crept in during the quiet hours of the night, and the gnawing sense of being watched. "I feel like I'm always looking over my shoulder," he admitted, tears stinging his eyes. "Like something is waiting for me to slip up, to let my guard down." "By confronting these feelings, you're taking back your power," Amelia encouraged. "You're not letting the shadow define you anymore." As Max spoke, the air around them crackled with tension. The shadows in the room seemed to flicker, as if responding to his vulnerability. He realized he was no longer the frightened man who had hidden from the darkness. He was standing tall, ready to face whatever came next. Suddenly, a chill swept through the room, and the lights flickered ominously. Max felt a surge of panic grip him. "It's back," he whispered, heart racing. "Stay calm," Amelia urged, her voice steady. "Remember what we discussed. You're in control." The temperature dropped sharply, and an ominous figure began to materialize in the corner of the room. It was larger now, darker, the edges blurred as if it were part of the very darkness itself. Max's heart pounded, but he refused to cower. "I know you're here," he shouted, stepping forward. "You feed on my fear, but I won't let you win." The shadow writhed, its form twisting as if agitated by his words. It lunged forward, a rush of darkness that engulfed the room. Max felt a rush of cold air, his breath visible as it turned to fog. "Stand your ground," Amelia shouted, her voice cutting through the panic. "Use the light." Max fumbled for the flashlight they had prepared, the beam slicing through the dark. He pointed it toward the shadow, illuminating the swirling mass that recoiled at the sudden brightness. "Get away from me," Max shouted, his voice resonating with newfound strength. "You have no power over me." The shadow hissed, an unnatural sound that sent chills down his spine. It flickered in and out of existence, trying to evade the light. But Max pressed forward, determination fueling him. Amelia moved beside him, holding up the mirror they had used before. "Together, we can do this." Max and Amelia directed the light and the reflection at the shadow, pushing it back with their combined strength. The dark entity writhed, growing smaller and more transparent with each passing moment. "I see you for what you are," Max yelled, his voice echoing in the tension-filled space. "You're just a figment of my fears." As the words left his mouth, the shadow shrieked, a sound that felt like ice scraping against metal. It began to dissolve, the darkness breaking apart like a fragile glass sculpture. Max felt a rush of triumph as the shadows retreated, their power waning. The room brightened, the oppressive atmosphere lifting as the last vestiges of darkness evaporated. Breathless and trembling, Max turned to Amelia, who wore a look of disbelief mixed with relief. "Did we do it?" "I think so," she replied, her eyes wide with astonishment. "We faced it together." But as they caught their breath, a heavy silence enveloped them. Though they had managed to push back the shadow for now, Max couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The night wore on, the darkness outside settling in like an unwanted guest. Max knew they had won a battle, but the war against the shadows of his past was far from over. As dawn approached, the first light of day began to filter through the curtains, casting a soft glow across the room. The remnants of the night's struggle felt like a distant memory, yet the adrenaline still coursed through Max's veins. He sat on the edge of the couch, the flickering remnants of shadows dancing across the walls, but he no longer felt their oppressive weight. Amelia joined him, her expression a mixture of exhaustion and hope. "I can't believe we faced it," she said softly, her voice still tinged with disbelief. "It felt so real." "It was real," Max replied, his heart still racing. "But we fought back. We took a stand." The feeling of victory coursed through him, but beneath that triumph was a nagging doubt. What if it comes back? What if I can't keep it away? Amelia placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We've faced it once. We can face it again. And you've taken the first step in confronting your fears. It's a powerful thing to acknowledge what's bothering you." Max nodded, appreciating her words. He knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but he felt a new resolve building within him. The shadow may return, but he wouldn't face it alone. With Amelia by his side, he had a partner to help him confront the darkness. As they sat in silence, the morning light grew stronger, illuminating the room and banishing the last traces of night. Max breathed in deeply, filling his lungs with fresh air and the promise of a new day. He could feel the weight of the shadow lifting, but there was still one final step to take. "I want to document everything we went through," he said suddenly, a spark of inspiration igniting within him. "I want to write it down, not just for me, but for others who might be facing similar fears." Amelia's eyes lit up. "That's a brilliant idea. You can help others understand that they're not alone. Maybe it will even give them the courage to confront their own shadows." Determined, Max retrieved his laptop from the nearby table and opened a blank document. He began to type, pouring his heart out onto the screen. He wrote about the shadow that had haunted him, the fear that had gripped his life, and the journey he and Amelia had taken to face it together. Each word felt like a release, freeing him from the chains of anxiety that had held him captive for so long. Hours passed as Max poured his soul into the story. He relayed every chilling encounter, the fear that had suffocated him, and the breakthrough moments when he had finally begun to reclaim his power. He realized that by sharing his experience, he was not only helping others but also solidifying his own healing. As he typed, Amelia busied herself in the kitchen, preparing coffee and breakfast. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, a comforting reminder that life was continuing outside the struggle they had just endured. "Hey Max," she called from the kitchen. "Do you want to talk about what's next? We could brainstorm ways to keep the shadows at bay." Max paused, glancing up from his screen. "Yeah, that sounds good. I've been thinking about it a lot." Once he finished his current thought, he closed his laptop and joined her in the kitchen. They sat at the small table, steaming mugs in hand, their energy slowly returning as the day unfolded. "What if we create a plan?" Amelia suggested. "We could have regular check-ins, maybe a journal where we document our thoughts and feelings. It'll help keep the darkness at bay." Max nodded in agreement. "I like that idea, and I want to make sure I don't fall back in old habits. I need to keep confronting what scares me." "Exactly," she encouraged. "It's all about acknowledging those feelings and not letting them fester. And if we ever feel overwhelmed, we can lean on each other. That's what friends are for, right?" "Right." Max smiled, warmth spreading through him. The bond they had formed during their ordeal felt unbreakable. In a way, the shadows had brought them closer together, forging a friendship born of shared fear and triumph. As they sipped their coffee, Amelia glanced out the window, watching the world wake up. "You know, I've been thinking about that shadow. It may have been born from your fears, but it's also a reminder of your strength. You faced it head on, and that's no small feat." Max took a deep breath, the weight of her words sinking in. "I suppose you're right. I've spent so long feeling weak, but maybe this experience is a turning point." Amelia smiled brightly. "Absolutely. It's about embracing the light and letting go of the darkness. You're not just a survivor. You're a warrior." With renewed confidence, Max sat up straighter, the morning sun casting a warm glow around them. "I'll make sure I remember that. No more hiding from my fears." After breakfast, they decided to take a walk, enjoying the fresh air and sunshine. As they stepped outside, the world felt different. The sky was a bright blue, birds chirped cheerfully, and the shadows that had once loomed so large now seemed insignificant in the light of day. They wandered through the neighborhood, discussing their plans for the future. Max felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the bond they had forged. In the depths of darkness, he had found a light in Amelia, and together they would continue to shine brightly. As they returned to his house, Max paused at the doorstep, glancing back at the familiar shadows that lingered near the porch. "This place will always hold memories," he said softly, "but it doesn't have to hold me back." Amelia nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Exactly. You've faced your fears, and now it's time to live without being bound by them." With that, Max stepped forward, crossing the threshold into his home. The shadows retreated, and he felt a profound sense of peace settle over him. The journey had been fraught with challenges, but he had emerged stronger, ready to face whatever came next. As they walked inside, Max turned to Amelia, a smile spreading across his face. "Thank you for being here. I couldn't have done this without you." "Of course," she replied, beaming. "We're in this together." With a renewed sense of purpose, they began to discuss their plans for the day, eager to embrace the future without fear. Max had learned that shadows could only thrive in darkness, but he was determined to bring his light into every corner of his life. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting its warm rays over them, Max felt an overwhelming sense of hope. The shadows may have retreated for now, but he knew he had the strength to face them again if they dared to return. And with that thought, he stepped boldly into his new life, ready to embrace whatever came next. Don't forget to subscribe in the channel and like the video for more contents. The day had finally arrived. Alex stood in the middle of the living room, staring at a collection of dusty boxes piled high in the corner. They had arrived just the day before, delivered by a distant cousin who had taken it upon themselves to sort through the belongings of a great aunt Alex had never met. While the rest of the family was preoccupied with sorting through a lifetime of memories, Alex felt an inexplicable pull toward the boxes. As the sun streamed through the window, illuminating particles of dust dancing in the air, Alex knelt beside the first box, the wood creaking softly under the weight of curiosity. Inside, there was an assortment of items: faded photographs, delicate china, and an intricately carved wooden box. Each item seemed to hold its own story, waiting to be uncovered. Picking up a small silver locket, Alex noticed its weight and coolness against their palm. The locket was tarnished, its surface adorned with swirling designs. With a gentle tug, Alex opened it, revealing a miniature portrait of a woman with kind eyes and a warm smile. Beneath the portrait was a delicate inscription, barely legible: "To my dearest, forever intertwined." What does that mean? Alex mused, intrigued. This was only the first of many items, yet it already felt significant, as if it were the beginning of a journey. Setting the locket aside, Alex moved to the next box. There, nestled among some old quilts, was an ornate mirror. The frame was gilded and embellished with floral designs, and Alex couldn't help but run their fingers over its surface. Looking into the mirror, they were startled to see not just their reflection, but a flicker of something else, perhaps a shadow of the past. The feeling lingered, a whisper at the edge of their mind, urging Alex to explore further. Each heirloom beckoned with the promise of hidden truths, and Alex felt a sense of responsibility to uncover their stories. What secrets lay within these objects? Were they mere possessions, or did they hold messages from generations gone by? As the day faded into twilight, Alex continued to sift through the boxes. A tattered diary caught their eye, its leather cover cracked and worn. Flipping through the pages, Alex discovered entries filled with elegant cursive, detailing mundane aspects of life, but sprinkled with hints of emotion: love, loss, and longing. One entry, dated decades earlier, stood out. "I can hear the whispers of our ancestors through the heirlooms. They speak to me, urging me to remember who we are." Alex felt a shiver run down their spine, sensing the weight of those words. What had the author experienced? Who were the ancestors they spoke of? The sun had set completely, leaving the room dimly lit by a single lamp. Shadows flickered across the walls as Alex continued to explore, their heart racing with excitement. What they had stumbled upon was more than just a collection of objects. It was a bridge to a past they knew little about. Just then, Alex noticed a framed photograph at the bottom of the box. Carefully pulling it out, they examined the image closely. A large family gathered together, their faces radiating joy. At the center stood a woman who looked strikingly like the woman in the locket. Intrigued, Alex felt a connection forming, a thread weaving through time, linking them to these unknown relatives. As the night wore on, Alex's imagination soared, spinning tales about the lives of these ancestors, each heirloom a chapter in their shared history. The shadows cast by the dim light seemed to swirl with energy, a reminder that these items were not just relics, but conduits of legacy. With a heart full of wonder and questions, Alex decided that this was just the beginning. The heirlooms held secrets waiting to be uncovered, and they were determined to decode the messages hidden within. Tomorrow would bring new discoveries, and Alex felt an electric thrill at the thought. As sleep beckoned, they placed the locket on the bedside table, its inscription lingering in their mind: "Forever intertwined." There was something profoundly beautiful about the idea that the past and present were connected, that the stories of those who came before would continue to resonate through time. Little did Alex know that this journey into their family's history would unveil secrets long buried, transforming their understanding of who they were and where they came from. The morning sun streamed through the window, casting a warm glow over the room. Alex woke up with a sense of purpose, their minds still buzzing with the mysteries of the heirlooms. Today, they resolved to dig deeper and uncover the stories that lay hidden beneath layers of dust and time. After a quick breakfast, Alex returned to the living room, the boxes still beckoning with their allure. Determined, they decided to tackle the intricately carved wooden box first, feeling a magnetic pull towards it. The craftsmanship was exquisite, the wood smooth to the touch, and the carvings seemed to tell a story of their own. As Alex gently opened the box, a faint scent of cedar wafted up, mingling with the mustiness of age. Inside, they found an array of small trinkets, an antique pocket watch, a set of keys, and a bundle of letters tied with a faded ribbon. The letters were yellowed, the ink slightly smudged, indicating they had weathered time. With a quick tug, Alex unfastened the ribbon and spread the letters out on the table. They were addressed to a woman named Eleanor, written in the elegant handwriting of a man named Henry. As Alex began to read the first letter, they were instantly drawn into the intimate correspondence between the two. "My dearest Eleanor," it began, the words flowing like poetry. "Each day apart is a testament to my love for you. I find solace in our memories, and as the days pass, my yearning only grows stronger. There is a secret I must share, one that could change everything." Curiosity piqued, Alex continued reading, enthralled by the depth of emotion conveyed through the words. Henry spoke of a hidden treasure, a collection of family heirlooms passed down through generations, each holding its own significance. But what truly captured Alex's attention was a reference to a specific symbol, a crescent moon entwined with a rose. "Find the rose, my love, and the moon will guide you to our destiny," the letter concluded, leaving Alex breathless. This was more than just a love letter. It was a map to something hidden, a promise of discovery. Alex felt a surge of excitement and a hint of determination. What did the rose symbolize? Where could they find it? The thought of unraveling the mystery made their heart race. They quickly folded the letters back into the box, making a mental note to research the crescent moon and rose symbol later. Eager to explore further, Alex set their sights on the pocket watch. Its silver exterior gleamed under the light, and they could see tiny engravings along its edge. As they opened the watch, the ticking mechanism came to life, filling the room with a rhythmic sound that felt almost comforting. Inside the watch, a small inscription caught Alex's eye. "To those who seek, may time guide you." The words resonated deeply, as if the watch itself was a reminder of the journey ahead. What was it that Alex was seeking? A sense of belonging, a connection to their roots? Or perhaps a deeper understanding of the family that had come before? With renewed determination, Alex decided to investigate the family tree, hoping to find any leads connected to Eleanor and Henry. They sat at the desk, pulling out their laptop and searching for any historical records that could shed light on the couple. As they delved into genealogy websites, they began to piece together a family tree that expanded before their eyes. Eleanor was revealed to be a distant relative, and Henry, a man of intrigue who had vanished under mysterious circumstances. The details surrounding their lives were scarce, but there were whispers of family legends that hinted at hidden treasures and ancient symbols. An hour passed, filled with the thrill of discovery, when Alex stumbled upon a forum discussing family heirlooms. One user mentioned a family emblem featuring a crescent moon and a rose, linking it to a local legend about a hidden treasure buried near an old oak tree on the family's ancestral land. This was the clue Alex had been searching for. Excitement bubbled within as they noted the location. It seemed the old oak tree held the key to unveiling more secrets about their family. But there was a catch. According to the forum, the tree was located on private property, long since abandoned. Determined to follow the lead, Alex decided to visit the location. They grabbed a notebook, pen, and their keys before heading out, feeling a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. What would they find at the base of the oak tree? Would the treasure truly exist? Or were these just tales spun from the fabric of family lore? As Alex drove through winding country roads, the landscape transformed from the familiar hustle of the city to sprawling fields dotted with wildflowers. The air felt fresher, filled with the scent of earth and grass. The further they traveled, the more alive they felt with possibility. After a short drive, Alex arrived at a clearing where the old oak tree stood majestically, its branches sprawling like ancient arms reaching for the sky. The sight took their breath away. It was as if time stood still, the tree guarding its secrets with silent authority. Stepping out of the car, Alex approached the oak, its gnarled roots twisting into the earth, grounding it firmly in place. Kneeling beside the tree, they felt an overwhelming sense of reverence. This tree had likely witnessed countless generations, its trunk whispering stories of those who had come before. As they examined the area, Alex noticed something peculiar. A small, weathered stone partially buried in the soil. Heart pounding with anticipation, they dug around it until the stone was free. Etched into its surface was the same crescent moon entwined with a rose. This was the symbol Henry had mentioned in his letter. Excitedly, Alex brushed off the dirt and turned the stone over, revealing a hidden compartment. With trembling hands, they pried it open, revealing a small scroll tightly wound and secured with a ribbon. "This has to be it," Alex whispered to themselves, a thrill coursing through their veins. Untying the ribbon, they carefully unrolled the scroll, their heart racing with the prospect of uncovering the next clue in this unfolding family mystery. As they read the words, Alex knew that the journey was only just beginning. There was a world of secrets waiting to be unearthed, and they were determined to follow the clues wherever they led, uncovering the hidden messages in their family's heirlooms, and, ultimately, discovering who they truly were. The scroll felt like an artifact from another era, its edges fragile yet resilient. Alex could hardly contain their excitement as they carefully read the elegant script written in ink that had faded but was still legible. "To the one who seeks, the path will unveil itself through the legacy of love and sacrifice. The treasure you search for is not gold, but the stories that bind us. Follow the symbols, and you will uncover the roots of your lineage. Your family's past holds the key to the future. Trust the moon and the rose. They will guide you through the darkness." The words echoed in Alex's mind, resonating with an unexplainable urgency. This was more than a mere treasure hunt. It was a quest to understand their identity and heritage. What did the symbols mean? And how would they lead to the stories that had shaped their family? Folding the scroll carefully, Alex placed it back in the compartment of the stone and took a deep breath, savoring the weight of the moment. They stood up, the ancient oak towering behind them, a silent witness to their burgeoning journey. But where to go next? Back in the car, Alex considered their options. They recalled the letters from Henry to Eleanor, specifically the details about their secret, which might still lie hidden among the heirlooms. They remembered the pocket watch, the way it ticked with purpose, and the inscription it bore. Determined to investigate further, Alex decided to return home and explore the remaining heirlooms. Maybe they had missed something crucial. Perhaps another piece of the puzzle was waiting to be uncovered. Once back home, Alex spread the contents of the box across the table. The pocket watch, the letters, and the keys. Each item seemed to pulse with a history, urging them to connect the dots. Starting with the letters, they read through them again, searching for any clues that might have slipped through the cracks of their initial excitement. The mention of the rose and the moon stood out, but so did the recurring theme of love and longing. Henry and Eleanor's connection was palpable, and Alex couldn't shake the feeling that their love was intertwined with the mystery they were trying to solve. After several reads, something clicked. Eleanor had spoken of a garden, a place where she and Henry would meet. The descriptions were vivid, filled with imagery of blooming roses and silver moonlight. If the garden still existed, it might hold answers or clues regarding the treasure Henry referenced. With this newfound inspiration, Alex pulled out their laptop again, researching local histories and any mentions of a garden associated with their family. After several hours of digging, they discovered that Eleanor's family had once owned a large estate outside the city, renowned for its exquisite gardens. Excitement bubbled within as Alex jotted down the address. It was a long drive, but worth every minute if it meant uncovering more about their heritage. With a sense of purpose, Alex grabbed their keys and headed out once more, the sun now setting in a brilliant display of oranges and purples. The drive was calming, and as Alex approached the estate, they felt a strange connection to the place, as if it were calling them home. The estate loomed large, surrounded by wildflowers and overgrown hedges that hinted at a beauty long forgotten. It had an air of mystery, as if the walls were keeping secrets of their own. Parking the car, Alex stepped out and approached the entrance. The wrought iron gate creaked as they pushed it open, revealing a pathway lined with stones that seemed to guide them deeper into the heart of the estate. The garden appeared before them, an explosion of colors battling against the encroaching weeds. Although time had taken its toll, hints of its former glory remained, and within that chaos, Alex felt a sense of belonging. They wandered deeper, inhaling the fragrant scent of blooming flowers as the evening air turned cooler. Then, just beyond a patch of roses, Alex noticed a stone fountain. It had weathered the years, its surface cracked and faded. As they approached, something caught their eye, a familiar symbol etched into the stone, the crescent moon entwined with the rose. Their heart raced. This could not be a coincidence. Kneeling down, Alex traced the symbol with their fingers, feeling a connection to the past. This was the place Henry had written about. They searched the fountain for any hidden compartments or inscriptions, feeling an urgency to uncover whatever secrets lay within its depths. As they inspected the fountain, Alex noticed the water basin was shallow, filled with leaves and debris. But something sparkled at the bottom. With a quick glance around, ensuring they were alone, Alex reached in and pulled out a small, silver locket. It was delicate, engraved with the same crescent moon and rose pattern. Carefully opening the locket, Alex found a small, faded photograph of a woman. It was Eleanor, her soft smile radiating warmth. On the opposite side, there was another inscription: "The heart remembers, even in silence." Alex's heart raced as they realized this locket was not just a trinket. It was a tangible connection to their ancestor. This locket, and the garden itself, held stories of love, loss, and legacy. They were clues leading Alex to understand who they were, who Eleanor was, and the family bonds that transcended time. Feeling a mix of elation and reverence, Alex stood up, holding the locket close. The journey had taken an unexpected turn, yet each step was guiding them further into the depths of their family's narrative. The hidden messages in their heirlooms were more than just artifacts. They were stories waiting to be told, and Alex was determined to unearth every last one. The day had been long, but Alex knew this was only the beginning. They returned home with the locket in hand, ready to dive deeper into the mystery, exploring not just the heirlooms, but also the legacy that came with them. Returning home from the estate, Alex felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through their veins. The locket, nestled securely in their pocket, was not just a relic. It was a key to unlocking the hidden narratives woven into their family history. With the evening's tranquil air wrapping around them like a protective cloak, Alex knew they had stumbled upon something far more significant than they had initially imagined. As they entered their home, the familiar scent of old books and wood settled around them, grounding them in the present. The heirloom box was spread across the dining table, its items now imbued with newfound meaning. The pocket watch, the letters, and now the locket seemed to hum with stories yearning to be told. Alex took a seat, breathing deeply, their mind racing with the connections they had begun to forge. With the locket in one hand, they spread out the letters again, intent on deciphering their ancestors' words, hoping they might provide additional insights. It was time to connect the dots and face whatever revelations awaited them. Each letter felt like a thread in a vast tapestry, and Alex was determined to weave them together. The letters between Henry and Eleanor chronicled not just their romance, but also hinted at a family secret, something profound enough that it compelled them to communicate in riddles and symbols. As Alex delved deeper into the letters, a recurring theme emerged: the Shadow Keeper. It seemed to be a figure that both Henry and Eleanor feared or revered, a guardian of sorts, but of what? The urgency grew as they pondered the significance of this Shadow Keeper. Was it a family member, an ancestor, or something more ethereal, like a spirit watching over them? With a resolute heart, Alex decided to uncover this mystery, knowing it would likely tie into the heirloom secrets. Inspired by the moon and rose symbolism, Alex turned to the locket once more, tracing the intricate designs with their fingers. They recalled the garden at the estate, especially the fountain where the locket was hidden. If there were more secrets to be unearthed, it made sense to revisit that very spot. They needed to retrace their steps, to explore further in hopes of revealing more layers of their family history. With night fully draping the world in darkness, Alex felt a strange exhilaration as they set out again toward the estate. The moon hung high in the sky, casting silvery beams that illuminated the overgrown paths of the garden. The air was thick with anticipation as they approached the fountain once more. With the moonlight guiding their way, Alex knelt beside the fountain, peering into the water that shimmered like liquid glass. The locket felt warm against their chest, and with each heartbeat, it seemed to pulse with energy, as if calling out to something hidden beneath the surface. They remembered the earlier inscription on the fountain and focused on it intently. "Trust the moon and the rose. They will guide you through the darkness." The words rang clear in their mind as they scanned the area. Suddenly, Alex noticed the roses surrounding the fountain were particularly vibrant, their petals glowing under the moonlight. Feeling compelled to explore further, Alex carefully moved aside some of the foliage and discovered a small, rusted key partially buried in the soil. Its shape and size mirrored the intricacies of the heirloom box. Heart pounding with excitement, Alex lifted the key, dusting it off as they turned it over in their hand. What could it possibly unlock? Perhaps another compartment within the heirloom box, or maybe even a hidden room within the estate. As Alex pondered these possibilities, they recalled the old stories their grandmother had told them about a forgotten cellar beneath the estate. A place where family treasures were said to be hidden, long lost to time and memory. Fueled by this revelation, Alex stood up, adrenaline rushing through them. The key was not just a metal object. It was a beacon, a pathway into the depths of their family's legacy. They had to find the cellar and uncover what lay hidden within its walls. Navigating through the garden under the shimmering moonlight, Alex made their way toward the entrance of the estate. A chill of excitement mingled with trepidation washed over them as they stepped inside. The air was cooler than outside, a stark contrast to the warmth of the evening. With the key clutched tightly, Alex navigated through the dimly lit hallways, their heart racing as they remembered the layout from childhood visits. The house felt alive with whispers of the past, as if the very walls were urging them onward. At the far end of the hallway, Alex discovered a door, slightly ajar, the hinges groaning in protest as they pushed it open. The darkness beyond seemed impenetrable, but with a flick of their phone's flashlight, the beam cut through the gloom, illuminating the space ahead. Before them lay a staircase, spiraling downward into the shadows. The air felt heavy with history, and Alex's pulse quickened with each step they took. This was it, the path to uncovering their family's buried secrets. Reaching the bottom, the beam of light revealed a small, stone-walled cellar. Dust motes danced in the air, illuminated by the glow from Alex's phone. The atmosphere was thick with a sense of anticipation, the weight of the past pressing down on them. Scanning the room, Alex's gaze landed on a large, ornate chest against the far wall, its surface marred by time, yet still exuding an air of majesty. The chest bore the same crescent moon and rose symbol they had seen earlier, mirroring the designs on the locket. This was it. This was what they had been searching for. Heart pounding, Alex approached the chest, taking a moment to steady their breath. The key felt heavy in their hand as they inserted it into the lock, the mechanism clicking to life. The lid creaked open, revealing an interior filled with faded fabric and an assortment of items. As Alex rummaged through the chest, a tapestry unfurled, displaying a family tree rich with names and connections, leading back generations. It depicted the lineage of Henry and Eleanor, revealing lost branches that had faded from memory. Among the items was a stack of letters bound by a delicate ribbon, much like those they had already found. These were different, though, addressed to the Shadow Keeper. Curiosity piqued. Alex took a deep breath as they reached for the letters, a wave of apprehension mingling with excitement flooding their veins. They were on the brink of uncovering the essence of their family's past. As they carefully unfastened the ribbon, a rush of cool air seemed to escape from the chest, carrying with it the scent of aged parchment and something akin to distant whispers, a lingering essence of stories waiting to be told. The first letter read, "To my dear Shadow Keeper, the protector of our secrets, I write to you from a place of love and fear. Our family has always understood the importance of balance, of light and shadow. It is you who will hold our truths, and it is you who must carry the weight of our legacy. Please protect these words, for they hold the key to understanding who we are." Alex's heart raced as they absorbed each word, realizing they were not just discovering their family's past, they were being entrusted with its future. The Shadow Keeper was a guardian of their lineage, a role they were now poised to embrace. With the letters clutched tightly in their hands, Alex felt the weight of history settle around them, a comforting embrace as they realized they were not alone. They were part of a lineage rich with stories, secrets, and the enduring bond of love. The journey was far from over, but now Alex had a clearer understanding of their path forward. The heirlooms, the letters, and the legacy were not merely artifacts. They were a call to action, a reminder that the past and present were intertwined, shaping the future in ways they had yet to comprehend. As Alex sat in the dim light of the cellar, surrounded by the remnants of their family's past, a profound sense of purpose settled within them. The weight of the letters and the secrets they contained felt heavy, but also exhilarating. They were on the cusp of something transformative, not only for themselves, but for their entire family legacy. With renewed determination, Alex carefully folded the letters back into the chest, their hearts still racing from the revelations. The Shadow Keeper had been entrusted with their family's truths, but it was now Alex's responsibility to carry this legacy forward. The connection they felt to their ancestors was palpable, a thread that linked them across time and space. As they stood, the echoes of the cellar seemed to whisper reminders of the stories left untold, urging them to share their discoveries with the world. After all, these were not just their family's secrets. They were tales that could resonate with others, weaving connections through shared experiences of love, loss, and the enduring quest for identity. Exiting the cellar, Alex ascended the stairs slowly, each step echoing with the knowledge they had gained. The house felt different now, almost alive with the energy of their ancestors. With the locket securely in their pocket and the letters held tightly against their heart, they knew they were ready to face the outside world. Back in the garden, the moon hung low, casting silver light over the roses and the fountain where their journey had begun. The air was cool and crisp, filled with the sweet fragrance of blooming flowers, grounding Alex in the present moment. They felt a deep connection to the garden, understanding that it held the key to their past while guiding them toward the future. As they stood there, Alex envisioned sharing their journey with others, crafting a narrative that would not only honor their family's legacy, but inspire others to explore their own histories. They recalled the stories their grandmother had told them, the tales that had sparked their curiosity about the past. It was time to create new stories of their own. Turning back towards the house, Alex could almost hear the voices of their ancestors echoing through the halls, urging them on. With a newfound sense of clarity, they decided to document everything: the letters, the locket, the family tree, and the insights they had uncovered. It was not just about preserving their family history. It was about sharing it, allowing others to connect with their roots and discover the stories hidden in their own lives. The following days were filled with creativity and inspiration. Alex transformed their dining room into a workspace, spreading out the letters, the family tree, and the heirloom box. They began writing fervently, weaving together the threads of their family's history into a cohesive narrative, a tapestry of love and loss, discovery and identity. As the days turned into weeks, the project blossomed. Alex conducted research on their family's history, tracing back their lineage and uncovering stories that had long been forgotten. Each revelation felt like a piece of a puzzle falling into place, creating a picture that was richer and more vibrant than they could have imagined. With each chapter penned, Alex felt a growing sense of connection to their ancestors. They poured their heart into the writing, crafting a narrative that would do justice to the lives of those who came before them. It was an emotional journey, one filled with laughter and tears as they celebrated the triumphs and mourned the losses of their family. The writing process became a healing journey for Alex. They confronted their own fears and insecurities, realizing that the stories of their ancestors were not just relics of the past. They were reflections of their own experiences and struggles. In embracing their family's history, Alex discovered a deeper understanding of themselves, their identity, and their place in the world. Finally, after months of dedication and hard work, the manuscript was complete. Alex stood back and admired their creation, a testament to the enduring power of family and the strength of connection. They felt an overwhelming sense of pride and gratitude, not just for the stories they had uncovered, but for the legacy they now carried forward. But Alex knew that this was just the beginning. The next step was to share their work with others, to give life to the stories that had been hidden away for far too long. With their heart racing, they submitted the manuscript to various publishers, eagerly awaiting feedback. Weeks passed, filled with anticipation and anxiety. Each day brought a mix of hope and doubt, but Alex remained steadfast in their belief that the stories deserved to be heard. And then, one sunny afternoon, the email arrived. A publisher had expressed interest in their manuscript. Excitement surged through Alex as they read the words, a validation of their journey. Over the next few months, the manuscript transformed into a book, ready to be shared with the world. The day of the book launch arrived, a culmination of hard work, determination, and love. Alex stood at the front of the room, their heart pounding as they prepared to speak. As they looked out into the crowd, faces illuminated with curiosity and interest, Alex felt a deep sense of connection. These stories were not just their own. They belonged to everyone in the room and beyond. They shared their journey, recounting the discoveries made along the way and the importance of embracing one's roots. As the evening unfolded, laughter and stories filled the air. People shared their own experiences, their connections to family and history, creating a tapestry of narratives that wove through the gathering. Alex felt a profound sense of fulfillment, knowing that they had inspired others to explore their own stories. As the event drew to a close, Alex took a moment to reflect on their journey. The heirlooms, the locket, the letters, they had all played a crucial role in shaping their understanding of family and identity. The Shadow Keeper was no longer just a mysterious figure from the past. It was a symbol of guidance and protection, a reminder that they were never truly alone. In the days that followed, Alex received messages from readers who found solace and inspiration in their book. It became clear that their family's stories resonated with others, bridging the gap between past and present, fostering a sense of belonging and understanding. Alex continued to delve deeper into their family history, encouraging others to do the same. They organized community events, inviting people to share their own heirlooms and stories, creating a space for connection and exploration. The response was overwhelming. Stories poured forth, weaving a rich tapestry of human experience that spanned generations. Through their journey, Alex had discovered not only their family's past, but also a newfound purpose. They became an advocate for storytelling, emphasizing the importance of understanding one's roots and the impact it can have on identity. The stories of their ancestors were now woven into the fabric of their life, guiding them as they embraced the future. As Alex stood in the garden one evening, gazing up at the stars, they felt a deep sense of peace. The journey had transformed them, opened their eyes to the beauty of connection and the power of storytelling. The locket, the letters, and the heirloom box were no longer just artifacts. They were symbols of love, resilience, and the enduring spirit of family. With a heart full of gratitude and love, Alex realized that they had not just uncovered hidden messages. They had unearthed a legacy that would continue to thrive, shaping the lives of generations to come. And in that moment, they knew they were never truly alone. The voices of their ancestors surrounded them, whispering words of encouragement and love, guiding them on their path. Don't forget to subscribe in the channel and like the video for more contents. The sun dipped low behind the jagged peaks of the mountains, casting long shadows across the dense forest. Nestled in the heart of this wilderness was a small, forgotten village, shrouded in mystery and whispers. The villagers had long since learned to avoid the woods after dark. Tales of strange happenings and eerie sounds filled the air like the chill that crept in with the night. Alex, a young woman with a thirst for adventure, had moved to the village just a few weeks earlier. Drawn by the enchanting tales of the woods, she couldn't resist the pull of the unknown. The locals, however, were less than welcoming, their wary glances and hushed conversations only heightening her curiosity. They spoke of a laughter that echoed through the trees, a sound that sent shivers down their spines, a laughter that belonged to something sinister. One crisp autumn evening, unable to ignore the allure of the forest any longer, Alex decided to explore. Armed with nothing but a flashlight and her resolve, she stepped onto the narrow path that led into the depths of the woods. The trees loomed overhead like ancient sentinels, their branches twisting and turning in the wind, creating a symphony of rustling leaves that seemed to whisper secrets. With each step, the sun's light faded and the shadows deepened. A sense of foreboding settled over her, but her curiosity pushed her onward. She recalled the stories of the laugh, told in hushed tones around the village bonfires, stories that spoke of lost souls and tragic fates. Yet, they only fueled her desire to uncover the truth. As she ventured deeper into the forest, a strange stillness enveloped her. The usual sounds of chirping birds and rustling critters fell silent, as if the woods held its breath. It was then that she heard it, a soft, distant laugh, echoing through the trees. It was high-pitched and joyous, yet something about it was chilling. Alex's heart raced as she strained to listen, the hairs on the back of her neck prickling with unease. "Just my imagination," she murmured to herself, shaking her head. But as the laughter danced through the branches again, it was impossible to dismiss. It was a sound that twisted her stomach, pulling her deeper into the woods against her better judgment. "Who's there?" she called out, her voice trembling slightly. Silence followed, thick and heavy. It felt as though the woods themselves were watching her, waiting for her next move. Alex took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart, and continued down the path, determination pushing her forward. Suddenly, the laughter erupted again, this time louder and closer, reverberating through the trees. Alex froze, her heart pounding in her chest. There was no mistaking it. This was not a figment of her imagination. Someone, or something, was in the woods with her. Every instinct screamed at her to turn back, but curiosity anchored her feet to the ground. Taking a cautious step forward, she whispered to herself, "It's just a trick of the wind." But as she moved further in, the laughter echoed once more, a haunting sound that seemed to taunt her. With each echo, the darkness deepened, swallowing the light of the setting sun. The path ahead twisted like a serpent, disappearing into the shadows, and the laughter grew more insistent, ringing through the woods. It became a melody of dread, an invitation to uncover the truth hidden beneath the surface. As she pressed onward, Alex realized she was no longer just an explorer in the woods. She was now part of a story that had been unfolding long before her arrival. The trees whispered of secrets long buried, and the laughter beckoned her to listen. Determined to face whatever awaited her, she plunged deeper into the heart of the forest, the echo of the laugh guiding her toward an unknown fate. Little did she know, the woods held more than just laughter. They harbored darkness, and she was about to become a part of it. With each step, Alex felt the weight of the woods pressing in around her. The trees, once majestic and inviting, now appeared twisted and foreboding. The light of her flashlight flickered against the encroaching darkness, casting eerie shadows that danced like specters along the ground. The laughter, that unsettling sound, resonated in her ears, closer now, almost teasing her resolve. "Get a grip, Alex," she whispered to herself, trying to shake off the creeping dread. "It's just a sound. It can't hurt you." But her heart pounded in rhythm with the laughter, a sinister symphony that set her nerves on edge. As she walked deeper into the woods, the laughter morphed from a distant echo into something more immediate, familiar almost. It felt as if it were drawing her in, weaving through the branches like a thread, guiding her to an unseen destination. The chill in the air intensified, wrapping around her like a cloak of uncertainty. Then, suddenly, the laughter stopped. A silence enveloped her, thick and palpable, broken only by the sound of her own breath. Alex paused, straining to hear anything that would indicate where the laughter had gone. Had she imagined it? Or had she ventured too far into the woods, crossing some invisible boundary? "Hello," she called out, her voice trembling. "Is anyone there?" The only response was the rustle of leaves in the wind, and for a moment, she felt an overwhelming sense of loneliness. Just as she began to doubt herself, a sound pierced the quiet, the unmistakable crunch of twigs snapping underfoot. Her heart raced. "Who's there?" she shouted, trying to sound braver than she felt. The trees stood silent, but the sense of being watched was undeniable. Then, from behind a massive oak tree, a figure emerged. Alex's breath caught in her throat. The figure was a young boy, perhaps no older than 10, with wild hair and clothes that seemed to blend into the forest itself. His eyes, however, sparkled with mischief, as if he held a secret only he understood. "Why are you laughing?" Alex asked, both confused and relieved. "What are you doing out here?" The boy tilted his head, his grin widening. "It's fun. You should try it," he said, and with that he burst into laughter once more. But this time, it felt different, lighter, almost inviting. Alex hesitated, unsure how to respond. "Are you alone?" she asked, scanning the woods for any signs of others. The boy shrugged, still chuckling softly. "Everyone's scared of the woods," he replied, his voice teasing. "But there's nothing to be scared of. Just listen." As if on cue, the laughter echoed again, but this time it didn't seem menacing. Instead, it blended with the boy's laughter, creating a strange harmony that sent shivers down her spine. Alex couldn't help but feel drawn to it, intrigued by the contradiction of fear and fun. "Come on, follow me," the boy urged, darting off deeper into the trees. Alex hesitated for a moment, a sense of caution tugging at her. This was precisely the kind of adventure she sought, but it also felt reckless to follow a child into the unknown. "Wait," she called, breaking into a jog to catch up with him. "What's your name?" The boy turned, his eyes sparkling. "Finn," he said. "You'll like it here, I promise." As they moved deeper into the woods, Alex felt the atmosphere shift. The trees seemed to close in around them, and the air grew cooler, the playful laughter fading into an unsettling echo. Yet, Finn remained undeterred, bounding through the underbrush as if he were at home in the wilderness. "Where are you taking me?" she asked, trying to keep pace. "To see the best part of the woods," he replied, his voice a mix of excitement and mystery. "You'll love it." But Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. As they continued, the laughter transformed again, morphing into a chorus of voices, each layered atop the other, a cacophony of joy and sorrow mingled together. It was haunting and beautiful all at once, an experience that transcended the boundaries of the ordinary. Finally, they reached a clearing bathed in moonlight, the trees parting to reveal a small glade. It was serene yet unsettling, the perfect backdrop for the tale she had heard in the village. In the center of the glade stood an ancient stone, covered in moss and surrounded by wildflowers that glowed in the silvery light. "This is where the magic happens," Finn said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "But you have to be careful. Sometimes the laughter isn't friendly." Alex's heart raced. "What do you mean?" she asked, feeling a cold shiver run down her spine. But Finn only smiled, stepping closer to the stone, placing his hand on its cool surface. "You'll see. Just listen." As she stood at the edge of the clearing, the laughter echoed again, but this time it sounded different, more sinister. The joyous quality had faded, replaced by a twisted, mocking tone that sent a chill coursing through her veins. "Finn," she whispered, fear creeping into her voice. "Maybe we should go back." But before she could turn to leave, the laughter crescendoed, surrounding her, and in that moment, Alex felt an overwhelming sense of dread. Something ancient and powerful lingered in the woods, and she realized that she might have stumbled upon a secret far beyond her understanding. The ground trembled slightly beneath her feet, and the shadows deepened, swirling around like a living entity. Finn's laughter rang out again, but this time it was joined by another voice, one that sent terror coursing through her. "Stay with us forever." Panic surged through Alex as the chilling voice echoed around her, intertwining with the laughter of Finn. She could feel her heart pounding like a drum in her chest, each beat a reminder of the growing danger. The clearing, once enchanting, now felt like a trap, the shadows creeping closer as if drawn to her fear. "Finn, we need to leave," she urged, trying to keep her voice steady. The boy, however, appeared lost in his own world, his gaze fixed on the ancient stone as if it held a mesmerizing power over him. "Not yet," he exclaimed, a wild excitement in his eyes. "You have to understand, this is where the stories come alive." The laughter swirled around them again, a dissonant chorus that seemed to pulse with energy. Alex took a step back, instinctively seeking distance from the stone, but something held her in place. It was as if the very earth beneath her feet had become magnetic, anchoring her to this spot. forcing her to confront whatever was happening. Stories, she echoed, searching Finn's face for answers. What stories? He turned to her, a strange mixture of joy and seriousness etched on his youthful features. The stories of those who came before us. They laughed, they played, and sometimes they never left. As the words left his lips, the shadows deepened, swirling like a tempest around the clearing. Alex's breath quickened. She could feel a presence lurking in the depths of the woods, watching, waiting. The hairs on the back of her neck stood up, and a primal instinct urged her to flee. What do you mean they never left? She pressed, desperation creeping into her voice. Finn, this isn't a game. The boy's expression shifted. The playful glint in his eyes dimmed, replaced by a seriousness that sent shivers down her spine. Sometimes, if you listen closely enough, you can hear them. Their laughter echoes through the trees. They're still here, and they want to be remembered. As if in response to his words, the laughter grew louder, morphing into a haunting symphony that wrapped around her like a shroud. It was no longer playful. It was filled with longing and sorrow, an echo of countless souls trapped in the woods. Alex felt a wave of emotion crash over her, a blend of sadness and fear. What happened to them? She asked softly, her voice barely a whisper. Finn stepped closer to the stone, running his fingers along its weathered surface. They were lost. They got too curious, just like you. They wanted to uncover the secrets of the woods, but the woods took them. They became part of the laughter, part of the stories. A cold breeze swept through the clearing, rustling the leaves and sending chills down her spine. Alex could almost see them, ghostly figures dancing in the shadows, their forms barely discernible but filled with a restless energy. The realization hit her like a ton of bricks. She was standing on sacred ground, a place where boundaries between the living and the dead blurred. Finn, I need to go back, she said urgently, her instincts screaming at her to escape. This isn't safe. But the boy didn't seem to hear her. He closed his eyes, tilting his head as if tuning into a melody only he could hear. Listen, he urged, and Alex felt the ground tremble slightly beneath her feet, the shadows swirling around her like a tempest. The laughter crescendoed, now mingled with whispers, faint and unintelligible, yet filled with urgency. It felt as if the very air around her thickened with their presence, a desperate plea from the forgotten souls of the woods. Stay with us forever. The voices echoed again, stronger this time, resonating in her bones. Alex's heart raced, panic surging as she fought against the grip of the shadows pulling her closer to the stone. Please, Finn, she pleaded, desperation lacing her words. Let's go back. We can't stay here. His eyes opened wide, a mixture of understanding and regret crossing his features. I can't leave you, he said softly. You have to understand. They want you to remember. Just then, a surge of energy swept through the clearing, knocking Alex off balance. She stumbled backward, her hands flailing as she tried to regain her footing. Finn's laughter transformed into a piercing shriek, resonating through the trees, blending with the whispers of the lost souls. In that moment, time seemed to stretch and bend. Alex could feel the pull of the shadows, their darkness creeping closer as if trying to envelop her. The glade pulsed with life and death intertwined, a chaotic blend of fear and fascination. With every ounce of strength she had, Alex turned to flee, sprinting away from the stone, her breath coming in gasps. The laughter and whispers followed her, a haunting melody that echoed in the recesses of her mind. As she ran, the world around her blurred. The trees became a chaotic whirlwind of darkness, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers trying to drag her back. The laughter grew louder, echoing in her ears, intertwining with the sound of her racing heart. Suddenly, she burst through the tree line, emerging back onto the familiar path leading to her home. The laughter faded, replaced by the rustling of leaves and the distant call of a night bird. But the memory of the glade lingered in her mind, an imprint that would not easily fade. Panting, she turned to look back at the woods, the shadows shifting ominously within. Finn, she called out, but the woods remained silent, as if mocking her desperation. The sense of relief was overshadowed by the weight of what she had encountered. Those lost souls. What had they wanted from her? Why did they beckon her back? As she hurried home, a lingering question gnawed at her. What secrets did the woods hold, and why was she drawn to them? Night fell like a heavy curtain, shrouding the town in darkness. The air was thick with an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves outside Alex's window. She sat on her bed, her heart still racing from the encounter in the woods, her mind racing with thoughts she couldn't shake off. The laughter echoed in her memory, a haunting reminder of the mysterious presence that lurked in the trees. Every creak of the house seemed amplified, each sound drawing her deeper into paranoia. The images of Finn and the stone filled her thoughts, a strange mix of fear and curiosity pulling at her. Why had he been so entranced? What secrets lay hidden within the woods? And what had he meant about remembering the lost souls? After what felt like hours, Alex finally decided she couldn't ignore it any longer. The call of the woods was stronger than her fear. She needed answers, and the only way to find them was to confront whatever awaited her beneath the dark canopy of the trees. Dressed in her warmest clothes and armed with a flashlight, she stepped outside. The crisp night air nipped at her skin, sending shivers down her spine, but her determination pushed her forward. With each step toward the woods, her heart beat louder in her ears, a mix of anxiety and resolve. The path felt different at night, the familiar surroundings morphing into something foreign and menacing. Shadows loomed larger, twisting in the dim light of her flashlight, and the laughter echoed faintly, teasing her from the depths of the forest. As she approached the clearing, a sense of dread washed over her. The ancient stone stood like a sentinel, its presence formidable and unsettling. Alex's breath hitched as she entered the clearing, and she could feel the weight of countless eyes upon her. "Finn," she called out, her voice trembling slightly. The wind carried her words into the depths of the trees, but there was no reply, only the oppressive silence, heavy and foreboding. Gathering her courage, she stepped closer to the stone. The air around it felt charged, alive with energy, and she could hear whispers, unintelligible but insistent. Alex reached out, her fingertips brushing against the rough surface, and as she did, the whispers intensified, a cacophony of voices rising and falling like a wave. "Remember us," they urged, a desperate plea echoing in her mind. "Help us." Fear gripped her, but the allure of the mystery was stronger. "What do you want?" she shouted, her voice ringing out in the stillness. "Why are you trapped here?" The ground trembled beneath her, and a gust of wind swept through the clearing, extinguishing her flashlight. The darkness enveloped her, the laughter returning, but now it was different, more sinister, layered with a haunting sadness. "Help us," the voices echoed again, this time clearer, almost pleading. "Find a key." A sudden chill ran down Alex's spine as a shadow darted past her, and she spun around, heart racing. In the darkness, she saw a figure, a ghostly silhouette standing near the edge of the clearing. It was indistinct, but the outline was familiar. "Finn," she whispered, stepping closer. The figure turned, and for a moment, she thought she saw his face, a mix of longing and sorrow. "Alex, you shouldn't have come back," the figure warned, his voice echoing as if it were carried by the wind. "They'll know you're here. You must leave before it's too late." "Too late for what?" she demanded, fear and anger intertwining. "You brought me here. You wanted me to remember." The shadow shook its head, the expression morphing into something more desperate. "I didn't know. They're restless. They want to break free. And if they do, they'll take you with them. You have to go." The wind howled around her, a tempest of energy swirling in the clearing. Alex felt the shadows creeping closer, darkness coiling like a serpent ready to strike. "Finn," she cried out, fear tightening her throat. "What do I do?" He hesitated, and the shadows surged forward, flickering with a life of their own. "Find the key. It's hidden in the laughter," he urged. "Only then can they be released." With that, the figure vanished, leaving Alex alone in the darkness, the laughter now a thunderous roar echoing around her. Panic surged as she turned, searching for a way out. The shadows were closing in, the whispers now a cacophony of despair and madness. "Help us," they cried, their voices rising to a crescendo. "Find a key." With no other choice, Alex ran. She dashed through the clearing, her heart pounding in her chest, the laughter echoing behind her like a relentless storm. The trees seemed to close in around her, branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, trying to pull her back into their grasp. "Find the key," she screamed, desperation fueling her flight. "I will help you." The shadows paused, the laughter quieting for just a moment, as if contemplating her words. With renewed determination, Alex pushed forward, vowing to uncover the truth behind the laughter, the key to their freedom, and perhaps her own salvation. As she burst through the tree line and back onto the familiar path, she could still hear the whispers lingering in the air, wrapping around her like a cold embrace. "Find the key," they murmured, the haunting laughter echoing in her mind. She knew she couldn't escape her fate. She had to return, but this time armed with knowledge and the promise to uncover the secrets that bound them. Dawn broke slowly, the first rays of sunlight slicing through the heavy mist that lingered in the air. Alex sat on her bed, staring blankly at the wall, her heart still racing from the events of the night before. The laughter echoed in her ears, intertwining with the whispers of the restless souls, urging her to find the key and set them free. It was a chilling reminder of the urgency that now filled her every thought. She had barely slept, her mind racing with questions and theories. What was the key? And why did the laughter hold such power over the spirits bound to the woods? As the light crept into her room, illuminating the corners that had once felt dark and suffocating, she resolved to return to the clearing. This time, she would uncover the truth. After a hasty breakfast, Alex gathered her supplies, a notebook, a pen, and a flashlight, just in case. She felt a strange sense of determination wash over her. She wasn't just confronting the unknown, she was fighting for those trapped by it. She could feel Finn's warning echoing in her mind, but the weight of her purpose pushed her forward. The walk to the woods felt different in the daylight. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating a kaleidoscope of colors that danced on the forest floor. But as she reached the clearing, the atmosphere shifted. The stones stood solemnly, and the laughter had returned, quieter but still present, a soft melody that tugged at her consciousness. Taking a deep breath, Alex approached the stone, the whispers growing louder as she drew near. "Find the key," they implored, weaving through her thoughts like a gentle breeze. "It's here." Kneeling before the stone, she traced her fingers over the surface, feeling the ancient markings beneath her fingertips. The energy pulsed with each touch, and she closed her eyes, letting the sensations guide her. In her mind, she focused on the laughter, trying to connect with it, to understand its source. "Where are you?" she whispered into the silence, feeling the hairs on her arms stand on end. "What do you need from me?" The laughter swelled around her, transforming into something more tangible. Suddenly, a vision swept over her, fragments of memories, laughter echoing through the trees, children playing, joy intermingled with sorrow. She saw a group of kids, including a girl with pigtails and a boy holding a wooden toy. They were carefree, but then the scene shifted. The children vanished, leaving behind only the stone, the laughter replaced by a chilling silence. Opening her eyes, Alex gasped as the realization struck her. The key was linked to those lost souls, the children who once played in the woods, their laughter now an echo trapped between worlds. They were not just seeking freedom, they were longing for remembrance. "Your laughter, it's your memory," she murmured, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. "You want to be remembered." The laughter responded, a sweet yet haunting melody that enveloped her. The shadows danced around the clearing, swirling with a newfound energy as the voices of the lost children echoed in her mind. "Remember us," they sang, their tones intertwining with the very essence of the forest. With renewed purpose, Alex stood up and raised her hands to the sky. "I will remember you," she declared, her voice firm and resolute. "I will share your story." The laughter erupted, filling the clearing with an exuberant sound, reverberating through the trees. The shadows pulsed with energy, swirling around her like a whirlwind. Alex closed her eyes, feeling the weight of their presence, the gratitude shining through the darkness. "You will be remembered," she promised. As the laughter crescendoed, the ground beneath her began to tremble. The stone glowed with a warm light, and she felt a powerful surge of energy wash over her. The voices swirled around her, their joy palpable as the shadows lifted, merging with the sunlight filtering through the leaves. "Thank you," the voices whispered, and Alex opened her eyes to see the shadows dissipating into the light, transforming into a kaleidoscope of colors that danced across the clearing. The laughter grew fainter, but the warmth of their presence lingered, filling her heart with a profound sense of peace. Stepping back, Alex felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The spirits were free, their laughter resonating through the woods, intertwining with the sounds of nature. She knew that she had fulfilled her promise. The key to their liberation lay not just in the stone, but in the act of remembering. As she turned to leave the clearing, a sense of calm enveloped her. The shadows that had once haunted her now felt like a gentle embrace, a reminder of the importance of preserving memories. With each step, she carried their laughter with her, vowing to share their story with the world. Days passed, and life slowly returned to normal. But Alex had changed. She became the voice for the lost children, sharing their story with her friends, her community, and anyone who would listen. The woods no longer held fear for her. Instead, they became a sanctuary, a place where laughter echoed and memories lived on. One sunny afternoon, while exploring the edge of the forest, Alex paused to listen. The laughter was still there, soft and joyful, a reminder that the past never truly leaves us. It lives on in the stories we tell and the memories we cherish. With a smile, she turned and walked home, ready to share another tale, knowing that she had not just freed the lost souls, but had also found a deeper connection to the world around her. Don't forget to subscribe in the channel and like the video for more contents. In a town marked by forgotten stories, where shadows dance under the dim light of street lamps, we find our protagonist, Lucia. A 28-year-old artist, Lucia has just moved into an old house, an inheritance from a distant aunt she never knew. The walls of the house, with their time-worn marks, whisper secrets that make her heart race with a mix of excitement and apprehension. As Lucia explores each room, she's captivated by the house's history, the creaking floorboards, and the peculiar scent of aged wood. The faded wallpaper tells tales of laughter and sorrow, each flake falling like a lost memory. But it's the basement door that draws her attention, a heavy, oak structure that stands stubbornly closed, as if guarding something precious. One evening, after a long day of painting, Lucia descends the narrow staircase leading to the basement, her pulse quickening with each step. The air grows cooler, and the faint smell of dampness fills her nostrils. She hesitates, her hand hovering over the doorknob, a mix of fear and curiosity washing over her. Suddenly, a loud thud echoes from within, sending a jolt of adrenaline through her veins. What could it be? She takes a deep breath, reminding herself that this is her home now. With a firm grip, she twists the knob and pushes the door open. The creaking hinges reveal a dimly lit room, filled with dust and shadows. As her eyes adjust, she notices various items scattered around. Old furniture draped in white sheets, boxes stacked haphazardly, and an odd assortment of trinkets that seem to belong to another era. But amidst the clutter, something glimmers in the corner, catching her eye, a small, ornate box. Lucia's heart races as she approaches the box, feeling an inexplicable pull. What secrets does it hold? What stories lie buried in this basement? With a sense of determination, she reaches out, ready to uncover the mysteries hidden in her new home. As Lucia lifts the delicate box from the dusty floor, she feels a chill run down her spine. The ornate carvings on its surface seem to pulse with life, as if holding centuries of untold stories within. She can hardly contain her curiosity. Her fingers trace the intricate designs, each swirl and flourish captivating her imagination. Setting the box on a nearby table, Lucia glances around the basement, her senses heightened. The air feels charged with something, an unspoken energy that hints at the secrets buried in this old house. She opens the box with a gentle creak, and inside, she discovers a collection of yellowed letters, tied with a fraying ribbon. As she carefully unties the ribbon, a faint scent of lavender wafts into the air, stirring memories she can't quite place. The letters are written in elegant cursive, the ink faded but still legible. They tell the story of a woman named Eliza, her aunt's sister, who lived in the house many decades ago. With each letter Lucia reads, a sense of unease washes over her. Eliza writes about strange occurrences, whispers in the night, shadows moving where they shouldn't, and a growing sense of dread that crept through the house like a cold wind. Suddenly, the basement grows silent, and Lucia feels an odd sensation prickling at the back of her neck. She glances over her shoulder, half expecting to see someone, or something, lurking in the shadows. But it's just the dark corners of the room, deep and foreboding. Shaking off her unease, she focuses on the letters. One in particular catches her eye. It describes a hidden room in the house, a place where Eliza believed the answers to her fears lay. Intrigued and anxious, Lucia knows she must find this hidden room. Perhaps it will shed light on Eliza's troubles, or even the mysteries surrounding her own family. With renewed determination, Lucia makes her way back upstairs, her mind racing with questions. Where could this hidden room be, and what had Eliza discovered? She recalls the peculiar layout of the house. Perhaps it holds more than meets the eye. As she searches the house, she begins to notice more details. The uneven floorboards, the draft in the hallway, and the peculiar way the light shifts in the afternoon sun. Each clue fuels her curiosity and heightens her sense of unease. Something is definitely amiss. Late at night, as she lies in bed, the shadows of the room seem to dance in the moonlight, whispering secrets she can't quite grasp. Lucia closes her eyes, trying to shake off the feeling of being watched. But deep down, she knows she must confront the past that lingers in her new home. The following day, Lucia awakens with a newfound determination to uncover the hidden room Eliza had written about. The letters linger in her mind, the cryptic references to secrets and shadows igniting a fire within her. Armed with a flashlight and her sketchbook, she begins her exploration anew, intent on mapping out the entire house. Starting in the attic, Lucia navigates through the cobwebs and old furniture. Sunlight streams through the cracked windows, illuminating dust motes that dance like tiny spirits. As she rummages through boxes of forgotten treasures, old toys, yellowed photographs, and faded clothing, she feels a connection to Eliza, as if the past is reaching out to her through these relics. Yet, there's a nagging feeling that something more significant lies hidden. After hours of searching, Lucia descends into the basement once more. The air feels heavier today, almost oppressive, as she thinks back to Eliza's letters. There must be a clue among the scattered belongings, something to guide her to the elusive hidden room. She begins examining the walls, feeling for irregularities and pressing against sections of the wood. A faint thumping sound echoes in the stillness, a rhythmic heartbeat beneath the surface. Lucia's pulse quickens. Could it be a hidden door? As she investigates, her flashlight flickers, casting eerie shadows across the room. The unsettling ambience heightens her senses, making her acutely aware of every creak and groan of the old house. Then, as if responding to her probing, a section of the wall gives way, revealing a narrow crack. With bated breath, she pushes against it, and the wall swings open to reveal a dark passageway leading into an unknown realm. It's a small, cramped space, the air thick with dust and mystery. Lucia hesitates, feeling a rush of anxiety wash over her. The stories Eliza wrote about being watched resurface, sending chills down her spine. Gathering her courage, she steps inside, the beam of her flashlight cutting through the darkness. The passage is lined with old wooden beams, and the faint scent of mildew fills the air. As she ventures deeper, her heart pounds in her chest. What secrets will she uncover? At the end of the passage, Lucia finds a small, locked door, its surface covered in intricate carvings, much like the box she discovered earlier. She inspects it closely, searching for a key or a way to open it. In her mind, the pieces of Eliza's story begin to form a clearer picture. Was this door the source of her fear? Suddenly, A faint noise echoes from behind her, a soft whisper that sends her spinning around. The air feels charged again, and her instincts scream for her to flee. But Lucia stands her ground, driven by an insatiable curiosity. "Who's there?" she calls out, her voice wavering slightly. Silence envelopes her, thick and suffocating. She turns back to the door, determined to find a way in. After a moment of frantic searching, her fingers brush against a small, rusted key hidden in the crevice of the wall. Heart racing, she inserts it into the lock, turning it slowly. The door creaks open, revealing a dimly lit room that seems untouched by time. As she steps inside, Lucia feels a shiver of apprehension mixed with excitement. The room is filled with old furniture, bookshelves crammed with dusty tomes, and a large mirror that reflects her image, a reflection tinged with uncertainty. But what catches her attention most is a small desk in the corner, cluttered with papers, sketches, and an old diary that appears to be Eliza's. Lucia's breath catches in her throat as she approaches the desk. This is it, the moment she's been waiting for. What truths lay hidden in Eliza's words? She opens the diary, the pages fragile and yellowed, revealing a story steeped in mystery and dread. As she begins to read, she senses that the answers she seeks are just within reach, but so are the shadows that have haunted Eliza for years. As Lucia delves into Eliza's diary, her heart races with anticipation. The words leap off the page, forming vivid images in her mind. Eliza describes her descent into madness, driven by a force she could neither understand nor escape. The entries chronicle her growing paranoia, detailing the strange happenings in the house. Objects moving on their own, soft whispers in the night, and fleeting shadows that flitted just beyond her line of sight. But as Lucia reads, she also finds an unexpected detail, a warning. Eliza's final entries speak of a dark presence that lurked within the walls, a force that fed on fear and despair. It had seemed to awaken with the arrival of the full moon, intensifying the eerie occurrences. Lucia glances out the small window, her stomach tightening as she realizes the full moon is just a few days away. As dusk settles, casting long shadows through the room, a wave of unease washes over her. She closes the diary, placing it gently back on the desk, her mind racing with the implications of what she's just uncovered. Was the presence still here? And if so, what did it want from her? Determined not to be consumed by fear, Lucia takes a deep breath and leaves the hidden room. She climbs back through the passageway, her thoughts swirling. Yet the basement feels different now. The air seems heavier, charged with an energy that makes her skin prickle. As she steps into the main basement area, she feels a distinct chill settle around her, as if a cold hand were brushing against her back. Suddenly, she hears it, a soft whisper, just on the edge of her hearing. It calls her name, Lucia. The voice is sweet, yet laced with an undercurrent of something sinister. Panic surges within her, and she turns sharply, but the basement is empty, the shadows deepening in the corners. "Who's there?" she demands, her voice steadier than she feels. But only silence answers her, thick and oppressive. Her instincts urge her to leave, but she feels anchored, her feet glued to the floor. Then, from the corner of her eye, she catches a movement, a fleeting figure darting past the old furniture. Heart pounding, she follows the movement, every nerve in her body screaming for her to run. "Show yourself," Lucia shouts, trying to summon courage from deep within. The whispering intensifies, echoing off the walls, enveloping her in a cacophony of voices. As she stands frozen, she remembers Eliza's warnings about the dark presence. This must be it. The shadows that had haunted Eliza are reaching out to her now. Just as she contemplates fleeing, a heavy object falls from a nearby shelf, crashing to the ground and shattering, sending a cloud of dust into the air. Startled, Lucia jumps back, her heart racing. "What do you want?" she calls out, her voice wavering. "I'm not afraid of you." In that moment, the temperature drops further, and a feeling of despair wraps around her like a cold blanket. But within that darkness, she hears another voice, one that is clearer and more distinct than the others. "Help me." Lucia's breath catches. The plea is filled with sorrow, the weight of a burden unfulfilled. Despite her fear, a sense of empathy stirs within her. What if this presence was not just malevolent? What if it was trapped, lost, and seeking release? Summoning every ounce of bravery, Lucia steps forward. "I'll help you," she says firmly, her voice echoing in the oppressive silence. "But you need to show me how." The whispers fade to silence, the air grows still, and for a brief moment, Lucia feels a flicker of warmth, a connection. It's a promise, a pact formed between her and whatever dwells in the shadows of her new home. With the first confrontation over, a new resolve blooms within her. She must learn more about Eliza's past and the presence that lingers, intertwining their fates. As she heads upstairs, her mind races with thoughts and questions. What did Eliza find out? What did the presents want? The next day dawns bright and clear, but Lucia's mind is clouded with the events of the previous night. Determined to piece together the mystery that surrounds Eliza and the dark presence, she makes a plan. She needs to uncover every detail of Eliza's life, not just the fears, but the hopes and dreams that may have led her to this point. Lucia returns to the hidden room, her heart steady with purpose. The diary lies open on the desk, beckoning her to delve deeper into Eliza's world. She notices a few sketches strewn among the papers. Beautiful renderings of the house in different seasons, each one tinged with emotion. But one drawing stands out, a rough sketch of a tree in the yard, under which Eliza has scribbled the heart of it all. Curiosity piqued, Lucia grabs her jacket and heads outside. The old oak tree stands majestically in the backyard, its branches stretching wide like arms reaching for the sky. She approaches it cautiously, feeling a strange magnetic pull as she nears. The tree feels ancient, its bark rough and gnarled, a silent witness to the stories that have unfolded in this house. As she circles the tree, she spots something partially buried in the ground, a small, rusted box that seems to have been there for years. With a mix of excitement and trepidation, she kneels to dig it out, her fingers trembling as she unearths it. It's heavy with intricate designs that mirror those on the box in the basement. Taking a deep breath, Lucia opens the box. Inside, she finds more letters, but these are addressed to someone named Henry, a figure Eliza often mentions in her diary. The letters are filled with passionate words and longing, detailing a love that seems to bloom even in the shadows of despair. But as Lucia reads on, the tone shifts. Eliza expresses fear, mentioning Henry's strange behavior and her growing sense of isolation. One letter stands out, dated just days before Eliza's final entry in the diary. It reveals a confrontation between Eliza and Henry, where she accuses him of becoming distant and secretive. The letter ends abruptly, with Eliza writing, "I fear for my sanity." The whispers are growing louder, and Henry doesn't seem to hear them. A chill races down Lucia's spine. This is the key to understanding Eliza's fears and the darkness that lingers in the house. Perhaps Henry was not just a lover, but a catalyst for the haunting presence. With a sense of urgency, Lucia races back inside, needing to piece together the fragments of Eliza's life and the role Henry played in it. She scours the diary again, searching for any mention of him. It becomes clear that he had been an artist as well, and their lives intertwined in both passion and turmoil. Lucia uncovers more entries detailing their shared dreams of creating art that would transcend the ordinary. But as the whispers escalated, Henry had withdrawn, losing himself to the darkness that enveloped him. The once vibrant love story had turned tragic, marred by the very shadows that haunted Eliza. As dusk settles, Lucia sits in the hidden room, surrounded by Eliza's letters and drawings, piecing together the emotional landscape of the woman who came before her. Each revelation brings her closer to understanding the dark presence that binds them both. But just as she begins to feel a sense of clarity, a loud crash echoes through the house, shattering her concentration. Heart racing, Lucia rushes out of the room. The sound seemed to come from the living room, where she finds a picture frame lying shattered on the floor. It depicts Eliza and Henry, their faces bright with joy. But now, the glass glitters like shards of despair around her feet. As she kneels to clean up the mess, the whispers return, swirling around her, growing louder and more insistent. Help us, they plead, a chorus of voices woven into the fabric of the air. Lucia feels a weight pressing down on her, the urgency of their call overwhelming her senses. With a newfound determination, she stands tall. "I will help you," she declares, her voice firm against the rising tide of noise. "But I need to know what happened. Show me." In response, the whispers fade to a hush, and a singular sensation envelopes her, a rush of warmth and relief. But deep within, she senses the danger intensifying, the shadows growing restless. The atmosphere in the house shifts ominously as night falls, a heavy silence settling over everything. Lucia's determination to uncover the truth about Eliza and Henry only grows stronger, but so does the feeling of dread creeping through the walls. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows that stretch across the floor, she prepares for whatever may come next. That evening, she decides to confront her fear head-on. She gathers Eliza's diary and letters, along with the sketches, and sets up a makeshift workspace in the living room. The fireplace flickers to life, its warm glow a stark contrast to the chilling unease in the air. Lucia feels a sense of purpose, almost as if the house itself is urging her to unravel its secrets. As she reads through Eliza's writings, the whispers return, soft at first, but gradually growing more insistent, swirling around her like a dark mist. "Help us find him, find the truth," they implore. The chilling echo resonates deep within her, and Lucia grips the diary tightly, focusing on the task at hand. The entries mention a particular location where Eliza and Henry would often meet, a hidden grove on the property, a place where they shared their dreams and inspirations. Eliza had often referred to it as the Whispering Grove, a sanctuary amidst the chaos. As Lucia reads, a sense of longing fills her heart. This could be the key to understanding what transpired between them, and possibly a way to confront the dark presence that still haunts the house. With the determination to find the grove, Lucia heads outside into the darkening night. The moon hangs low in the sky, casting an ethereal glow over the landscape. As she makes her way through the yard, she can feel the atmosphere shift around her, an unseen force urging her forward. The air is electric, charged with an energy that seems to pulse beneath her skin. After searching for what feels like an eternity, she spots a thicket of trees in the distance. It's there, hidden among the shadows, that she finds a narrow path leading into the woods. The moment she steps onto the path, the air thickens with a palpable tension, as if the trees themselves are holding their breath. As she walks deeper into the woods, the whispers grow louder, a cacophony of voices merging into a singular plea. "Help us show him the way," they chant, echoing off the trees. Lucia feels a surge of emotions, a mix of fear and empathy, as if she's stepping into a living memory. Suddenly, the path opens into a small clearing, illuminated by moonlight. In the center stands an ancient tree, its gnarled roots sprawling across the ground. This must be the Whispering Grove, a place where Eliza and Henry once sought solace. As Lucia approaches the tree, a deep sense of melancholy washes over her. At the base of the tree, she finds remnants of a small stone altar, adorned with wilted flowers and trinkets, an offering, perhaps, left behind by Eliza in hopes of finding peace. Kneeling down, Lucia touches the weathered stones, feeling a connection to the past. It's here that she decides to hold a makeshift ritual, a way to honor Eliza and Henry and, hopefully, bring closure to their restless spirits. "Listen to me," Lucia begins, her voice steady yet soft. "I'm here to help you. I understand your pain. Please, tell me how I can set you free." As if responding to her words, the air shifts, and the whispers rise to a crescendo. The shadows coalesce into a swirling mist around her, forming shapes that flicker and fade like memories long forgotten. Lucia can sense the turmoil within them, the weight of unfulfilled love and unresolved grief. Suddenly, the temperature drops sharply, and a dark figure emerges from the mist, a shadowy silhouette that resembles a man. Lucia's heart races, her instincts screaming to run, but she holds her ground. "Henry," she calls out, her voice trembling. The figure hesitates, its form shifting as if struggling to maintain its shape. "Help me," it whispers, its voice a haunting echo of Eliza's warnings. "I did not mean to hurt her." The air grows heavy with sorrow, and Lucia can feel the anguish radiating from the figure. "What happened between you and Eliza?" she presses, desperation lacing her tone. "You have to tell me." In response, the shadow reaches out, a hand extending toward her. "Find the truth, the hidden pain in the letters," it urges, its voice fading into the night. Before she can respond, the figure dissipates into a swirl of darkness, leaving Lucia alone in the clearing, the weight of the world on her shoulders. Breathless and shaken, Lucia realizes the gravity of the task ahead. The truth about Eliza and Henry's love, and the darkness that followed, lies within those letters. She must delve deeper into their past, confront the emotions that have been buried for too long, and perhaps, in doing so, she can bring peace to the restless souls entwined in the shadows. The sun rises on a new day, but Lucia feels as if she has stepped into a dream, her mind still reeling from her encounter in the Whispering Grove. The weight of Henry's presence lingers, and she knows she must return to the hidden room and examine the letters more closely. The answers she seeks are buried within the emotions of a love story twisted by darkness, and she is determined to unearth them. Back inside the house, the atmosphere feels different, charged with anticipation and unease. Lucia sets herself up in the hidden room once more, spreading out the letters and diary entries across the desk. She examines each piece meticulously, searching for connections and hidden meanings. As she reads, she notices recurring themes: fear, love, longing, and desperation. The more she reads, the more she realizes how trapped Eliza felt, suffocated by a love that had become both her refuge and her prison. In one letter, Eliza describes a vivid dream she had, in which she sees Henry standing in front of the ancient tree, calling to her but unable to reach her. "I feel as if I'm losing him to something dark," Eliza writes, her anguish palpable. "Something that wants to take him away from me." Lucia's heart aches for Eliza, the fear she felt echoing in her own soul. She realizes that Henry was battling not just external forces, but also his own inner demons. As she pieces together their narrative, a sense of clarity begins to dawn. The whispers, the shadows, they were manifestations of their unresolved emotions, intertwined with the fabric of the house itself. Suddenly, she finds a small, folded note tucked within one of the letters. Her hands tremble as she opens it, revealing a hurried scrawl from Eliza. "If I am gone, seek the heart beneath the oak." It holds the key to the truth. This cryptic message sends a jolt of energy through Lucia. What did Eliza mean? The heart beneath the oak could be a literal or metaphorical reference, but either way, it signifies something vital, something hidden and crucial to understanding the fate of both Eliza and Henry. Determined to unravel this final thread, Lucia heads back to the ancient oak tree. The day is overcast, and a sense of urgency propels her forward. The grove feels charged, as if the air itself is anticipating the discovery that is about to unfold. As she approaches the tree, she kneels once more at the base, scanning the area for anything out of the ordinary. The earth is damp from recent rain, making it easier to dig. With a mixture of trepidation and excitement, she starts to sift through the soil, her fingers brushing against the cool earth. After a few moments of digging, she hits something solid, heart pounding. She clears the dirt away to reveal a small, heart-shaped locket. It gleams dully in the muted light, its surface etched with delicate patterns reminiscent of the carvings on the boxes she found in the house. With trembling hands, she pries it open. Inside, she finds a small, faded photograph of Eliza and Henry, their faces alight with joy, a stark contrast to the sadness that surrounds their story. Alongside the picture is a tiny, handwritten note that simply reads, "Together in love, even in darkness." Tears well in Lucia's eyes as she contemplates the depth of their bond, a love that transcended the shadows that sought to consume them. But as she holds the locket in her palm, a sudden chill rushes through the grove, and the whispers return, louder and more urgent than ever. Find him," they call, as if spurred by her discovery. Determined to honor Eliza and Henry's love, Lucia races back to the house, her mind racing with questions. What did Eliza mean by together in love, even in darkness? What had happened to Henry after Eliza's final letter? She feels a growing sense of responsibility to uncover their fate and bring closure to the lingering spirits. That night, as the moon rises high in the sky, Lucia sets the locket and photograph on her desk, her heart heavy with the weight of their love story. She opens Eliza's diary one last time, determined to find any mention of what happened to Henry after she had written her final entry. The words leap off the page, each line imbued with a mixture of hope and despair. In the last few entries, Eliza speaks of a growing fear that Henry had succumbed to whatever darkness haunted them. "I cannot bear the thought of losing him," she writes. "I fear the shadows are closing in, and I cannot save him alone. I must find a way to reach him, to bring him back before it's too late." Lucia feels a profound sense of connection to Eliza, the pain of a love that could not conquer the shadows echoing in her own heart. But she realizes that this connection can't be one-sided. If she is to help Eliza and Henry find peace, she must summon the strength to face the darkness that has plagued them both. With the full moon only days away, Lucia understands that time is of the essence. She must confront the presence that has haunted the house, and in doing so, perhaps she can help Eliza and Henry reunite. The night of the full moon arrives, casting an otherworldly glow across the landscape. The air is thick with anticipation as Lucia prepares for what she knows will be a pivotal moment in her journey. Armed with Eliza's diary, the locket, and her unwavering determination, she heads toward the Whispering Grove, the place where she feels the connection to Eliza and Henry is strongest. As she steps into the grove, the moonlight dances through the branches, illuminating the ancient oak tree like a sentinel of their love. The atmosphere crackles with energy, a strange tension that makes her skin prickle. Lucia feels both exhilarated and terrified, knowing she is about to confront the very shadows that have plagued Eliza and Henry. Kneeling before the tree, she places the locket and photograph at its base as an offering, a gesture of respect and love. "Eliza, Henry," she calls out, her voice steady, "I'm here to help you. I understand your pain, and I want to set you free." As her words hang in the air, a sudden gust of wind rushes through the grove, rustling the leaves and sending shivers down her spine. The whispers rise again, merging into a powerful chorus that reverberates around her. "Help us, find the truth, set us free." Lucia takes a deep breath, steeling herself for what's to come. "I know about your love, the darkness that tried to tear you apart," she continues, her voice unwavering. "But I also know that love can transcend even the deepest shadows. What do I need to do?" In response, the shadows begin to swirl around her, coalescing into a dark figure that materializes before her. It resembles Henry, but his form is twisted and anguished, a reflection of the turmoil that has consumed him. "You must understand the pain of betrayal," the figure whispers, its voice echoing with sorrow. "I was lost to the darkness, unable to find my way back to her." "Henry," Lucia says, her heart aching for him, "you don't have to remain lost. Eliza loved you deeply, and she wanted to help you." What happened after she wrote her last letter? The figure hesitates, a flicker of light illuminating his face for a brief moment, revealing the depth of his sadness. "I fell into despair, consumed by shadows I could not control. I thought I could protect her by pushing her away, but it only drove us apart." As his words resonate, Lucia feels a profound sadness enveloping her. "Eliza feared for you," she responds gently. "She wrote about the whispers, about how they grew louder and darker, but she never stopped loving you. You can find each other again." Suddenly, the shadows shift violently, swirling around her like a tempest. "The darkness will not allow it." Henry's voice rises above the chaos, filled with anguish. "It wants to keep us apart, to feed on our pain." In that moment, Lucia feels a surge of determination coursing through her. "No," she declares, her voice resolute. "You have the power to break free from this cycle. Eliza's love for you is stronger than the darkness that tries to claim you. You can choose to fight." As she speaks, the shadows begin to recede, wavering in the light of her conviction. Lucia senses a shift in the atmosphere, a possibility blooming amidst the despair. You must remember the love you shared, the dreams you built together. That love has the power to drive away the darkness. The swirling shadows falter, and Henry's figure wavers, the anguish in his eyes transforming into a flicker of hope. Can it really be so? He whispers, his voice softer now. Can love conquer the shadows? Yes, Lucia urges, her heart pounding with belief. You have to believe it too. Reach for her, Henry. She is waiting for you. As her words echo through the grove, a light begins to radiate from the heart of the oak tree, illuminating the area with a warm glow. The whispers shift from despair to a harmonious song, a melody of hope and love that wraps around Lucia and Henry like a protective embrace. The darkness shrinks back, its hold weakening as Henry steps closer to the light. Eliza, he calls, his voice filled with longing and regret. I am here. I never wanted to lose you. The shadows quiver, and in a burst of brilliant light, Eliza appears, ethereal and radiant. Her expression is a mix of joy and sorrow, and her eyes glisten with tears. Henry, she whispers, her voice echoing with love. I have always been here, waiting for you. As they reach for each other, the air crackles with energy, the shadows around them dissipating like mist in the morning sun. Lucia watches in awe as the two figures embrace, their forms merging into a singular light that fills the grove with warmth and tranquility. We are free, Henry whispers, his voice now harmonizing with Eliza's. Together in love, even in darkness. With that declaration, the grove bursts into radiant light, illuminating every corner of the forest. The weight that had lingered in the air lifts, replaced by a sense of peace and closure. The whispers fade to a gentle hum, a soothing lullaby that speaks of love transcending time and space. Lucia stands in the clearing, tears streaming down her face as she witnesses their reunion. She feels an overwhelming sense of gratitude and fulfillment, knowing she played a role in bringing their love story to a poignant conclusion. As the light begins to fade, Eliza and Henry's figures merge into a brilliant orb of energy, shimmering with love and serenity. The last thing Lucia hears is their harmonious voices echoing through the grove, a promise that they will always be together, free from the shadows that once consumed them. In that moment, Lucia understands the true power of love, the ability to heal wounds, to mend broken bonds, and to guide lost souls home. The grove settles into a profound silence as the brilliant light fades, leaving Lucia standing alone beneath the ancient oak. The air is still, a palpable calm wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. For the first time since she arrived at the house, she feels a sense of tranquility, as though the burdens that have haunted the place for so long have finally lifted. With a heart full of emotion, Lucia takes a moment to collect herself. She feels a deep connection to Eliza and Henry, a bond forged through shared pain and love. Their spirits are no longer trapped in the shadows. They have been set free. As she walks back toward the house, the weight of their story rests lightly on her shoulders, a gentle reminder of the power of love. Inside the house, she senses a shift in the atmosphere. The once oppressive air feels lighter, almost joyful. Lucia glances around, noticing that the dark corners of the rooms seem brighter, the shadows less threatening. She smiles, knowing that Eliza and Henry's presence will always linger here, watching over their beloved home. Over the next few days, Lucia immerses herself in the process of healing the house. Inspired by Eliza's writings, she begins to restore the neglected spaces, painting walls, cleaning windows, and bringing life back into the once-forgotten corners. As she works, she plays soft music in the background, letting the melodies fill the air with warmth and love. One afternoon, as she is cleaning the attic, she discovers a hidden trunk beneath a dusty old tarp. Intrigued, she pries it open to find a collection of Eliza's belongings, beautiful dresses, sketches, and a journal filled with her hopes and dreams. As she sifts through the treasures, Lucia feels a connection to Eliza's spirit, as if the past is speaking to her through these remnants. Among the items, She finds a final letter addressed to whoever might one day find it. To the seeker of truth, it begins. If you are reading this, know that love has the power to heal even the deepest wounds. My hope is that you find peace, just as I have, and that you remember our story. Tears well in Lucia's eyes as she reads Eliza's words. She feels a sense of responsibility to share their story, to ensure that their love is not forgotten. Inspired, she decides to document her journey, weaving together the threads of Eliza and Henry's love with her own experiences in the house. As the days turn into weeks, Lucia begins creating a series of videos for her YouTube channel, sharing the history of the house and the poignant love story of Eliza and Henry. She crafts each episode with care, using her narrative skills to breathe life into their tale. The stories resonate with her audience, drawing in viewers who find solace and inspiration in the couple's journey through darkness and love. Her channel grows steadily, filled with comments from viewers who are touched by the powerful message of hope and healing. People share their own stories of love and loss, creating a community that celebrates resilience and connection. Lucia feels a sense of fulfillment, knowing that she is not only honoring Eliza and Henry, but also helping others navigate their own struggles. One evening, as she reviews the comments on her latest video, Lucia receives a message from a viewer named Marcus. I lost my partner last year, and your videos have helped me process my grief. Thank you for sharing Eliza and Henry's story. It gives me hope that love can transcend even death. Marcus's message resonates deeply with Lucia. It reinforces her belief that stories have the power to heal, to connect us across time and space. She resolves to continue sharing Eliza and Henry's journey, ensuring that their love is remembered long after she is gone. As the full moon rises again, Lucia stands outside the house, looking up at the sky. She feels a sense of peace wash over her, a confirmation that Eliza and Henry are at rest. The shadows that once loomed large have transformed into memories filled with love and light. In that moment, she hears a soft whisper carried by the breeze, echoing the words she once heard in the grove. Together in love, even in darkness. The reminder fills her with warmth, and she smiles, knowing that love is indeed the greatest force of all. With newfound purpose, Lucia steps back inside the house, ready to embrace whatever comes next. As autumn leaves begin to swirl around the house, Lucia feels a renewed sense of purpose. She has transformed not only the house, but also her own life through the story of Eliza and Henry. The past few months have been filled with growth, healing, and connection, and she knows she's on a path that honors the couple's love in the most meaningful way. One crisp morning, while sipping her coffee and reflecting on her journey, she receives an unexpected message from a local historian, Mrs. Hastings. Dear Lucia, I've come across your videos about Eliza and Henry. I believe their story is part of a larger narrative about our town's history. I would love to discuss it with you. Excitement bubbles within her. This is the opportunity she didn't know she was waiting for. Lucia replies immediately, and they arrange to meet at a quaint cafe downtown. As she prepares for the meeting, her heart races with anticipation. She wonders how much more there is to uncover about the love story that had so deeply affected her life. At the cafe, Mrs. Hastings greets her warmly, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Lucia, it's wonderful to meet you. Your work on the videos has brought renewed interest in the history of our town. Eliza and Henry's story is remarkable, but it's only one piece of a much larger puzzle. Lucia leans forward, intrigued. What do you mean? Mrs. Hastings explains that Eliza and Henry were not just ordinary residents. Their love story was intertwined with a series of mysterious events that had shaped the town. There were rumors of an old legend about the ancient oak tree, she says, her voice lowering. It was said to be a guardian of lost souls, protecting the love stories that had been forgotten over time. Lucia feels a shiver run down her spine. This connection to the town's lore ignites her imagination. What else can you tell me about it? She asks, eager to learn more. The historian unfolds a tale of other couples whose loves were tested by tragedy, their stories hidden in the fabric of the town. These narratives have been lost in the annals of history, Mrs. Hastings continues. But together, we can revive them, just as you've done with Eliza and Henry's tale. Inspired by the historian's passion, Lucia proposes the idea of creating a community project that explores these love stories, documenting the lives of the couples who once walked the town streets. We could gather stories from families, explore old records, and even organize events that celebrate their legacies, she suggests. Mrs. Hastings's eyes light up with enthusiasm. That's a brilliant idea. We could create a digital archive, showcasing not only their stories, but also how love has shaped our community over the years. As they brainstorm ideas, Lucia feels a renewed sense of purpose, her vision expanding beyond the confines of her channel. This project could become a lasting legacy for Eliza and Henry, a testament to the power of love in all its forms. Over the following weeks, they worked tirelessly, reaching out to local families and gathering stories. Lucia's YouTube channel becomes a platform not just for Eliza and Henry's story, but for the myriad of love tales that have colored the town's history. The community rallies behind the project, contributing old photographs, letters, and memories. The culmination of their efforts comes to life in a special event at the town hall. They create an exhibition showcasing the love stories, complete with a video series narrated by Lucia. People from all over the town gather, sharing laughter and tears as they remember their own loved ones. As she stands at the center of the exhibition, surrounded by smiling faces, Lucia feels a sense of fulfillment wash over her. This is what she had hoped for, bringing people together, weaving a tapestry of love that transcends time. As the event unfolds, she notices a familiar face in the crowd, Marcus, the viewer who had reached out to her months earlier. He approaches her, gratitude evident in his eyes. "Lucia, your videos have changed my life. I felt so lost after losing my partner, but hearing Eliza and Henry's story helped me find a way to heal. Thank you for everything." Lucia smiles, her heart swelling with emotion. "Thank you for sharing your story with me. It's a reminder that love never truly disappears. It transforms and lives on in the memories we hold dear." That night, as the celebration continues, Lucia finds a quiet moment outside the town hall, gazing at the full moon illuminating the sky. The glow reminds her of the night she helped Eliza and Henry reunite, and she feels their presence surrounding her like a warm embrace. In that stillness, she whispers a promise into the night. "Your love will never be forgotten. I will carry your story forward." With renewed determination, she knows that this is just the beginning. The project will continue, with new stories waiting to be discovered and shared. Love, she realizes, is not just a fleeting moment. It's a legacy that echoes through generations. As she turns to head back inside, the whispers of the grove return, not as shadows, but as gentle reminders of the enduring power of love. The journey she embarked on has transformed not just her life, but the lives of many, igniting a flame of hope and connection that will continue to burn bright. "Together in love, even in darkness," she whispers, knowing that this truth will forever guide her path. With a heart full of hope, Lucia steps back into the warmth of the celebration, ready to embrace whatever comes next, knowing she is never truly alone. The stories of love will carry on, a testament to the timeless power of connection, understanding, and resilience. Don't forget to subscribe in the channel and like the video for more contents. In the heart of a bustling city, beneath the hum of everyday life, lives Maya, an unassuming artist in her late 20s, struggling to find her voice amidst a cacophony of mediocrity. Her once vibrant passion for painting has dulled, overshadowed by the pressures of life and the haunting shadows of her past. Yet, hidden behind her painted smiles, an obsession begins to blossom, igniting a chilling spark that will forever alter her reality. Maya spends her evenings in a dimly lit studio, surrounded by canvases that reflect her turmoil. The walls are adorned with haunting images, fragments of dreams twisted into dark manifestations of her psyche. One night, as she stares at a blank canvas, a peculiar sensation washes over her, an irresistible pull towards the unknown, a craving for something beyond the mundane. In search of inspiration, she attends an underground art exhibition that promises to showcase the rawest and most visceral works. As she navigates the crowd, she feels an electric energy in the air, igniting her imagination. It is here that she encounters a striking painting, a surreal portrayal of a woman entangled in shadows, her eyes pleading for salvation. Maya's breath catches in her throat. The painting, titled The Broken Soul, resonates with her on a profound level, igniting a flicker of recognition deep within her. Captivated, she learns that the artist, a reclusive figure known only as Jonah, lives nearby and rarely makes public appearances. Determined to meet Jonah, Maya becomes consumed with curiosity. She researches everything she can find about him, obsessively scrolling through social media, analyzing every detail of his life. Each revelation only deepens her fascination, morphing it into an all-consuming desire to connect with the artist whose work mirrors her own despair. Days turn into weeks, and Maya's obsession intensifies. She sketches Jonah's portrait, capturing the intensity of his gaze, as if she could summon him into her world. Each brushstroke becomes a desperate plea, a longing for validation from someone who seemingly understands her suffering. Then, one fateful night, driven by an overwhelming urge, she gathers her courage and decides to pay Jonah a visit at his studio, a move that will set her on a collision course with a chilling reality. Maya's heart pounds as she approaches Jonah's studio, a weathered building tucked away in a secluded alley. The atmosphere is thick with anticipation, each step reverberating with the weight of her obsession. She hesitates at the entrance, the cold metal door looming before her like a gateway to a different world. Taking a deep breath, she pushes the door open, the creak echoing into the shadows. The interior is dimly lit, filled with the scent of turpentine and the faint hum of music. The walls are covered with haunting images, each canvas a window into Jonah's troubled mind. Maya feels both exhilarated and terrified as she steps further inside, her pulse racing with a mix of excitement and dread. "Hello," she calls out, her voice wavering slightly in the silence. From the back of the studio, she hears a voice, a low, gravelly sound that sends chills down her spine. "Who's there?" Maya's breath hitches as Jonah steps into the light, his presence captivating and unsettling. He is tall, with tousled hair and a brooding demeanor that draws her in. His eyes, dark and penetrating, seem to see right through her, sparking a mix of intrigue and fear. I'm Maya," she stammers, feeling vulnerable under his intense gaze. "I saw your painting, The Broken Soul. It resonated with me, and I just had to meet you." Jonah studies her for a moment, his expression unreadable. "What did it resonate with?" he asks, crossing his arms. Maya hesitates, unsure of how to articulate the depths of her emotions. "It reminded me of my own struggles, my own darkness. I've been trying to find my way back to my art, but it's like I'm lost in shadows." A flicker of recognition crosses Jonah's face, and for a moment, they share an unspoken understanding. He gestures for her to sit on an old, paint-splattered couch, and she complies, her nerves tingling with anticipation. As they talk, Maya discovers Jonah's tumultuous past, his battles with depression, the tragic loss that fuels his art. Each revelation pulls her deeper into his world, feeding her obsession. She shares her own story, revealing the darkness that has clouded her creativity. In that dim studio, a connection forms, electric and intoxicating. Hours slip by, filled with laughter and shared pain. Yet, as the evening deepens, an undercurrent of tension lingers in the air. Jonah's demeanor shifts, his gaze darkening as he reveals the darker aspects of his art. A fascination with the macabre, the urge to capture the beauty in decay. "There's a fine line between inspiration and obsession," he says, his voice low and haunting. "You have to be careful not to cross it." Maya's heart races at his words. She feels the chilling truth behind them, the weight of her own obsession pressing down on her. But the thrill of being in Jonah's presence overrides her fears, drawing her closer to the edge. As they part ways that night, Jonah leans in closer, his breath warm against her skin. "You have a spark, Maya. Just promise me you won't lose yourself in it." The warning lingers in the air as she leaves the studio, the shadows swallowing her whole. Despite the fear creeping in her mind, Maya is exhilarated, her obsession fueled by the connection she's forged. She is drawn to Jonah's darkness, eager to explore the depths of her own. But as days turn into nights, Maya finds herself spiraling further into her obsession. She becomes consumed with thoughts of Jonah, unable to focus on anything else. The line between admiration and obsession blurs, creating a chilling reality she cannot ignore. Days pass, but Maya's life is no longer dictated by the rhythms of time. Instead, her world revolves entirely around Jonah. Each moment spent apart feels like an eternity, and she finds herself compulsively replaying their conversations in her mind. The excitement of their initial encounter begins to twist into something darker, like a vine wrapping tightly around her thoughts. Driven by her obsession, Maya begins to monitor Jonah's movements. She follows him to galleries, standing in the shadows as he interacts with other artists and admirers. A pang of jealousy stirs within her. She is desperate to be the one in the spotlight, the one to pull Jonah from the depths of his despair and darkness. The admiration she once felt for his talent now morphs into a burning need for his validation. One evening, as she scrolls through her phone, she discovers a cryptic post on Jonah's social media, an image of a decaying building captioned, "Beauty in Destruction." The image resonates deeply, echoing her own feelings of despair and longing for meaning. With a sense of urgency, she decides to confront him about the post, eager to unravel the meaning behind it. Maya rushes to Jonah's studio, her heart pounding with anticipation and fear. As she enters, she finds him standing in front of a new painting, a chaotic swirl of dark colors and haunting figures. The intensity of the piece sends a shiver down her spine, its emotional weight palpable in the air. "Jonah," she exclaims, breathless, "I saw your post. What does it mean? Are you okay?" He turns to her, his expression a mixture of surprise and annoyance. "It's just a piece, Maya. It doesn't need a meaning." But Maya presses on, her curiosity igniting her passion. "No, it does. You can't just create something so raw without explaining it. It feels alive." Jonah steps closer, his voice lowering to a whisper. "Sometimes, it's better to let the darkness speak for itself. You can't control what it reveals." His words hang heavily in the air, resonating with the tumult of her own emotions. Maya feels a thrill, as if she's been invited into a hidden realm, one where the shadows dance and secrets lie waiting to be uncovered. Driven by a compulsion she cannot shake, Maya suggests they collaborate on a project, a dual exploration of their artistic darkness. She envisions a series of paintings that delve into their shared experiences, a journey into the depths of their souls. Jonah seems intrigued, but wary. "Are you sure you're ready for that? It can consume you," he warns, a flicker of concern crossing his face. "More than anything," Maya replies, her voice firm yet trembling with anticipation. "I need to explore this." And so, they begin to work together, each painting becoming a reflection of their intertwined lives. However, as they delve deeper into their art, Maya's obsession spirals out of control. She finds herself losing track of time, neglecting her health and relationships as she becomes ensnared in Jonah's dark world. Nights blend into days as they paint, the line between reality and illusion blurring. Each stroke of the brush pulls Maya deeper into a chasm of despair, revealing wounds she had long buried. She feels as if she is losing herself in the process, each canvas a reminder of her internal struggle, a manifestation of her darkest thoughts. As her art becomes increasingly unsettling, Jonah begins to pull away. He senses her dissent, the way her obsession clouds her judgment, and he fears for her sanity. "Maya, we need to talk," he says one night, his voice strained. "This isn't healthy. You're becoming consumed by it." Maya's heart races at his words. "But this is where I find my truth. Can't you see that? You understand me like no one else. I understand the darkness, but you need to find your own light." Jonah replies, his expression grave. Maya feels anger boiling inside her, a mix of frustration and desperation. "You think you can just walk away from this? I need you. We are meant to create something extraordinary together." Their confrontation leaves a lingering tension in the air, a storm brewing on the horizon. Jonah's retreat only intensifies Maya's obsession, igniting a fierce determination to prove her worth as an artist. She decides to take matters into her own hands, Convinced that if she can create a masterpiece that captures their journey, Jonah will have no choice but to acknowledge her. Driven by her obsession, she begins to paint feverishly, channeling her pain and longing into each stroke. The images grow darker and more chaotic, a reflection of the turmoil brewing within her. She starts to neglect her own well-being, isolating herself from friends and family, consumed by the need to impress Jonah and solidify their connection. In her darkest moments, she turns to the shadows for inspiration, drawing upon the whispers of her fears. But as her obsession deepens, she starts to lose sight of herself, teetering on the brink of a chilling reality. As Maya's obsession spirals further into darkness, her studio transforms into a sanctuary of madness. Canvases piled high with frantic strokes surround her, each piece a manifestation of her internal chaos. Her once vibrant palette has become a sea of dark hues, deep reds, blacks, and haunting blues that mirror the tumult within her soul. One evening, exhausted yet driven, she stands before her latest piece, a grotesque representation of herself and Jonah, intertwined in a chaotic dance of shadows. It feels powerful, intoxicating, yet unsettling. She pours every ounce of her pain into the canvas, believing that this creation will solidify her bond with Jonah, validating her obsession. Suddenly, the door swings open, startling Maya from her trance. It's Jonah, his expression a mix of concern and disappointment. "Maya, we need to talk," he says, stepping inside the dimly lit studio. Maya feels a surge of anger at the interruption. "Why? What's there to talk about? You just don't get it." She gestures wildly at her artwork, frustration bubbling to the surface. "I'm creating something real here." Jonah's gaze flickers over the chaotic canvases, his concern deepening. "This isn't healthy. You're losing yourself in this darkness. You can't keep pushing me away." She takes a step closer, desperate to make him understand. "But this is my truth. Can't you see how powerful it is?" Yet Jonah shakes his head, taking a step back. "Powerful or not, you need to find balance. Art should be an expression, not a descent into madness. If you keep going like this, I can't be part of it." Maya feels a chill at his words. The threat of losing him looms large, and with it comes a surge of desperation. "You're afraid of what you can't control, Jonah. I can't do this without you." As she speaks, the air thickens with tension, shadows dancing menacingly around them. Jonah looks conflicted, torn between wanting to help and fearing for her well-being. "I want to support you, but I can't watch you self-destruct." In a moment of rage, Maya grabs a nearby brush, dipping it in dark paint, and makes an aggressive stroke across her latest canvas. "You think you can just walk away? This is our art, our story." The words spill out, laced with frustration and anguish. Jonah takes a deep breath, his eyes narrowing. "This is not the way, Maya. You need to confront what's really going on inside you. Don't let this obsession consume you." As he turns to leave, something snaps within Maya. "Don't you dare walk away from me," she shouts, her voice echoing in the hollow studio. But Jonah is already out the door, leaving her in a whirlwind of emotions. Once alone, the silence envelopes her like a shroud, the shadows creeping in closer. Rage morphs into despair as she realizes the depths of her obsession. Panic grips her, and she begins to question everything she's done. Is Jonah right? Has she truly lost herself in this madness? Days pass, and the void left by Jonah's absence grows heavier. Maya immerses herself in her work, yet each brushstroke feels emptier without his presence. The art she once found solace in now serves as a constant reminder of her isolation. One night, unable to sleep, she wanders through her studio, her mind racing. Suddenly, her eyes land on a new canvas, a blank slate that feels like a prison. Fueled by frustration, she decides to destroy it, the need to release her pent-up emotions overwhelming her. In a fit of rage, she grabs a palette knife and starts slashing at the canvas. Each cut feels like a release, a cathartic expression of her pain. But as she tears the canvas apart, a dark thought creeps into her mind. If Jonah doesn't appreciate her art, then she will make him see the darkness in herself. As the night wears on, She stumbles upon a locked drawer in her studio, one she had ignored in her frenzy. Curiosity piqued, she pries it open, revealing a collection of Jonah's discarded sketches and notes. Her heart races as she sifts through them, each piece revealing fragments of his soul that he never shared with anyone. Suddenly, a note slips out, fluttering to the floor. It reads, "The darkness can be a beautiful prison, but it can also be a deadly escape." A chill runs down Maya's spine as she reads the words. The warning resonates with her, echoing her own internal struggles. She realizes that Jonah has fought his own demons, and she fears that in her pursuit to connect with him, she may be unwittingly drawing him back into his own darkness. In that moment, Maya becomes acutely aware of the threat her obsession poses, not just to herself, but to Jonah as well. The thought sends a shiver through her, and she begins to wonder if she is not just spiraling into madness, but dragging Jonah with her. Determined to reclaim her autonomy, she begins to formulate a plan, one that would involve both confronting her own demons and finding a way to reconnect with Jonah. Yet, as she stands amid the wreckage of her emotions, she knows that the path ahead is fraught with danger. With every stroke of her brush, she grapples with the chilling reality of her obsession, a journey that could either lead her to redemption or plunge them both into darkness. Maya's resolve hardens as she acknowledges the threat her obsession poses to both herself and Jonah. She begins to chart a course toward reclaiming her identity, a process that intertwines self-reflection with the desperate need to connect with him again. The gnawing fear of losing Jonah pushes her to confront her inner turmoil, but it's easier said than done. In the following days, she channels her energy into creating a new series of paintings, works that embody her struggle against the darkness rather than surrendering to it. Each canvas becomes a battlefield, a manifestation of her fight to break free from the chains of obsession. With every stroke, she seeks to express the raw emotions she has been bottling up, hoping that through this cathartic process, she might find clarity. However, as her paintings evolve, Maya discovers that confronting her demons is no simple task. Each piece reveals layers of pain she thought she had buried. One night, she finds herself working late in the studio, illuminated only by the soft glow of a single lamp. As she stands before a nearly finished canvas, depicting a chaotic swirl of colors that seem to battle for dominance, a sudden thought strikes her. What if Jonah doesn't recognize her growth? What if he still sees her as the girl lost in the shadows? The fear tightens around her heart like a vice. She knows she needs to share her new work with him, but the vulnerability that accompanies such a gesture terrifies her. Determined to bridge the chasm that has formed between them, Maya resolves to invite Jonah to her studio. The very thought sends butterflies racing in her stomach, and she spends the following days crafting the perfect message. She practices it over and over, unsure of how he will respond. Finally, the moment arrives. She hesitates before sending the message, her finger hovering over the screen, but she steels herself and hits send. "Jonah, I've been working on something new. I'd love for you to come and see it. I think you'll find it different better." As the hours stretch into an anxious wait, Maya tries to distract herself with work, but the ticking clock and her racing heart drown out all focus. Finally, her phone buzzes. Jonah's reply is simple yet loaded. When, after a few back-and-forth messages, they settle on a date for him to visit. The anticipation fills her with a mix of excitement and dread. She spends the next few days preparing the studio, arranging her canvases to showcase her transformation, while wrestling with the fear that he won't understand or appreciate her newfound perspective. The day arrives, and she can hardly contain her nerves. The studio, filled with her vibrant works, stands as a testament to her journey. But as she waits for Jonah to arrive, self-doubt creeps in. What if he sees the old Maya reflected in her paintings? What if he thinks she hasn't changed at all? When Jonah finally steps through the door, the air becomes charged with electricity. He looks around, his expression unreadable as he takes in the transformation of the space. "Wow, it's different," he says, his voice laced with surprise. Maya's heart races. "I've been working on a new series," she replies, motioning toward the canvas at the center of the room. "It's about confronting our shadows, about finding beauty in the struggle." Jonah steps closer, examining the piece, which depicts two figures intertwined, one drenched in light, the other shrouded in darkness. "This is powerful," he finally says, a hint of admiration breaking through his initial hesitation. Encouraged, Maya shows him more of her work, sharing her thoughts and emotions behind each piece. With each painting they discuss, she feels a glimmer of hope. Maybe this connection can be salvaged. But just as the atmosphere shifts towards something warm and intimate, a sudden noise pierces the moment. The sound of a shattering glass interrupts their conversation, echoing through the studio. Maya's heart races as she turns toward the source, a window cracked under the strain of a chilling wind. The sudden intrusion of chaos sends a jolt through her. "What was that?" she asks, her voice trembling. Jonah's eyes narrow, scanning the room. "I don't know, but we should check it out," he replies, instinctively moving toward the window. Maya follows closely behind, her instincts on high alert. As they step outside, they find the alleyway shrouded in shadows, the remnants of a broken bottle glinting in the moonlight. But there's something more. A sense of unease hangs thick in the air. Suddenly, from the depths of the shadows, a figure emerges. A man with a wild look in his eyes, pacing restlessly. "Get away from her!" he screams, lunging toward Jonah. Maya's heart races as she realizes the man is someone from her past. A stalker who had become obsessed with her before she had moved to the city. Someone she had thought was gone for good. In an instant, the atmosphere shifts from one of artistic exploration to one of raw danger. Jonah steps in front of Maya protectively, his expression fierce. "What do you want?" he demands, voice steady but taut with tension. The man sneers, his eyes darting between Maya and Jonah. "You don't deserve her. You think you can just waltz in and take her from me?" Maya feels the walls closing in around her, the weight of her past crashing down upon her. "You need to leave," she pleads, stepping out from behind Jonah. "This isn't how it works. I'm not yours anymore." But her words only fuel his rage. He lunges at Jonah, and in that split second, everything slows down. Maya's heart races as she realizes the chilling reality of her obsession. Not just for Jonah, but for the danger that lurks in her past. The confrontation escalates, a raw reflection of the shadows she's been fighting. Jonah grapples with the man, and in that chaos, Maya realizes that she must confront her own fears if she wants to protect the fragile connection she has with him. In a moment of clarity, she shouts, "Stop. This isn't about us. It's about letting go of the past." The words hang in the air, a lifeline amidst the chaos. As the tension thickens, Maya feels the weight of her obsession shift. She knows that the battle isn't just against her past, but also for her future. The atmosphere crackles with tension as Maya's voice reverberates through the night. The world around her feels suspended in time, the chaos at the forefront stark against the backdrop of her internal struggle. The man hesitates, the fury in his eyes faltering as he processes her words. Jonah, seizing the moment, pushes the attacker back, creating distance between them. "Let's get you out of here," Jonah urges, taking a protective stance in front of Maya. His presence provides a shield against the looming danger, yet the fight against her past feels more daunting than ever. Maya's heart pounds in her chest. "No, Jonah, we can't just run. He needs to understand that this is over," she insists, her voice steadying as she faces the man who has haunted her memories. The stalker's expression shifts from anger to confusion. "You think you can just forget me? You belong to me, Maya," he spits, his voice dripping with desperation. "Belonging isn't about possession," Maya retorts, her anger boiling over. "You can't control me or my choices anymore. I've moved on, and it's time for you to do the same." Her words carry a weight that she had not anticipated, and the man's confidence begins to crumble. The shadows of her past no longer hold the same power. Her defiance becomes a light that pierces through the darkness. Jonah glances back at Maya, his eyes filled with a mixture of concern and admiration. "We need to call the police," he suggests, maintaining a cautious distance from the man, who now appears increasingly unstable. But Maya shakes her head. "No, this isn't just about him. It's about me taking back my life. I can't let him dictate my future any longer." As if fueled by her determination, she steps forward, her gaze unwavering. "You don't own me. This is my story, not yours. I refuse to be a victim." In that moment, something shifts within the man. His bravado dissipates, revealing a flicker of vulnerability. "You think you can just erase me?" he challenges, his voice laced with a hint of fear. "I'm not erasing you. I'm letting go," Maya responds firmly. The power she once felt he held over her now crumbles under her conviction. With Jonah's support, she feels emboldened, ready to reclaim her narrative. "You need to leave and never come back. If you truly care about me, you'll understand," she declares. The man falters, looking between Maya and Jonah. The weight of her words sinks in, and for a brief moment, the intensity of the confrontation diffuses into an uneasy silence. The shadows surrounding them feel less like prison walls and more like a backdrop to a pivotal moment in Maya's journey. Finally, with a defeated scowl, the man backs away, slowly retreating into the darkness from whence he came. "This isn't over, Maya," he mutters before disappearing, leaving behind an unsettling silence. As the adrenaline begins to fade, Maya turns to Jonah, her heart racing. "Did we really just do that?" she asks, disbelief mixing with relief. Jonah steps closer, a protective aura still surrounding him. "You stood up for yourself," he replies, admiration glimmering in his eyes. "That was brave." Yet even in the moment of victory, a shiver runs down Maya's spine. She realizes that her battle is far from over. Her past still lingers, casting long shadows over her present. The threat may have retreated for now, but it has exposed the fragile nature of her newfound resolve. Over the next few days, Maya attempts to process the confrontation. Though she feels empowered, the emotional weight of her stalker's return lingers, serving as a constant reminder of the shadows she must continue to confront. Jonah checks in on her often, his presence a comforting balm in the aftermath of the chaos. They discuss her artwork, her growth, and the importance of continuing to fight against the darkness within. Each conversation deepens their bond, yet she fears that the connection might be predicated on shared trauma. Despite the fear, she invites Jonah to a gallery opening, hoping to showcase her latest pieces and reclaim her narrative in front of the world. "It's important to me that you're there," she tells him, her voice filled with sincerity. "I want you to see how far I've come." The night of the gallery opening arrives, filled with excitement and trepidation. Maya feels a rush of emotions as she stands among her work, the canvases reflecting her journey through darkness and into light. She hopes to convey her story to those around her, sharing not just her triumphs, but the struggles that shaped her. As guests begin to arrive, the atmosphere buzzes with energy, the air filled with conversations and laughter. Jonah stands by her side, offering encouragement as they navigate the crowd together. However, amidst the joy, she feels a twinge of anxiety creeping back in, the shadows of her past still whispering doubts. Throughout the evening, she receives mixed reactions to her work. Some express admiration, while others appear confused by the raw emotion woven into each piece. Despite the encouragement from Jonah, Maya feels vulnerable, acutely aware of the fine line between acceptance and rejection. As the night progresses, she catches sight of a familiar figure lingering at the edge of the gallery, a silhouette cloaked in shadows. Panic surges within her, and she strains to see clearly, the flickering lights casting uncertain shapes. "Is everything okay?" Jonah asks, noticing her sudden shift in demeanor. "I think someone's watching us," Maya replies, her voice shaky. She tries to focus her vision, heart racing as she feels the familiar prickle of dread. Jonah's expression turns serious, his protective instincts flaring. "Let's go check it out," he suggests, taking her hand. As they approach the edge of the gallery, her fears are confirmed. The figure is none other than her stalker, lurking in the shadows, eyes locked on her with an intensity that sends chills down her spine. The realization hits hard. This isn't just a ghost of her past. It's a threat that refuses to fade. "Maya, stay behind me," Jonah commands, stepping in front of her. "What do you want?" he demands, voice steady yet firm. The man smirks, an unsettling grin that only heightens Maya's anxiety. "I told you this isn't over," he taunts, a menacing glint in his eyes. "You think you can just move on without consequences?" Fear grips her heart, but Maya feels an unexpected surge of strength. You don't have power over me anymore, she declares, stepping forward. I've fought too hard to let you back into my life. The confrontation escalates, drawing attention from the gallery guests, whispers spreading like wildfire. Maya can feel the weight of their gazes on her, but she knows this is a defining moment, not just for herself, but for Jonah as well. The man's eyes narrow, a flicker of rage flashing across his face. You'll regret this, Maya. You'll see. And with that, he retreats into the crowd, leaving behind a trail of uncertainty. Jonah turns to Maya, concern etched across his features. Are you okay? He asks, worry mingling with determination. I will be, she replies, her voice steadying. I have to be. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Maya realizes that the shadows of her past will always linger, but she now possesses the strength to confront them. Surrounded by her artwork and the support of Jonah, she feels a newfound resolve forming, a determination to reclaim her narrative and embrace the light within the darkness. In the days following the gallery opening, Maya's sense of empowerment begins to wane as the weight of her stalker's threat looms heavily over her. The chilling encounter still plays on a loop in her mind, and she grapples with the anxiety it ignited. Though she had fought back, she feels an unsettling mixture of victory and vulnerability, as if the shadows have been momentarily pushed back but are still lurking nearby, waiting for the next opportunity to strike. Determined not to let fear dictate her life, Maya dives into her work. Each stroke of paint becomes a release, a way to channel her emotions and reassert her identity. Her studio becomes a sanctuary, filled with color and creativity that mirrors her journey toward healing. With Jonah's unwavering support, she begins to explore new themes in her art, focusing on resilience and the power of self-discovery. One evening, while working on a particularly evocative piece, she receives a message from Jonah. How about a weekend getaway? I think it could do us both some good, he suggests. The idea resonates with her, a chance to escape the chaos and reconnect in a space free from the weight of their pasts. With her heart racing at the prospect of a fresh start, Maya quickly agrees. They plan a trip to a cozy cabin nestled in the mountains, a sanctuary far from the distractions of city life. As the weekend approaches, anticipation builds, and she imagines what it would be like to spend uninterrupted time with Jonah, away from the specter of her stalker. The moment they arrive at the cabin, Maya feels a wave of tranquility wash over her. Surrounded by towering trees and the crisp scent of pine, she finally breathes a sigh of relief. This place is beautiful, she remarks, taking in the serene landscape that stretches before them. Jonah smiles, his eyes sparkling with excitement. I thought you could use some fresh air. Let's explore. As they venture into the wilderness, the rhythmic sound of leaves crunching underfoot becomes a soothing backdrop to their conversations. Maya shares stories from her childhood, memories woven into the fabric of her identity, while Jonah listens intently, his interest unwavering. They laugh and connect, and for the first time in weeks, she feels a sense of normalcy returning. In the evenings, they gather around a crackling fire, the warmth illuminating their faces as they talk about their dreams, fears, and the future. Maya opens up about her art, her struggles, and the shadows that haunt her. Jonah shares his own experiences, revealing the vulnerabilities he has hidden beneath a layer of strength. This exchange deepens their bond, and she feels more connected to him than ever before. Yet, just as Maya begins to revel in the beauty of their newfound connection, a chill creeps into the night air. Shadows stretch across the forest, and the memories of her stalker resurface, whispering doubts in her mind. Every rustle of leaves and distant sound makes her heart race, but she fights against the urge to let fear take control. One night, as they sit by the fire, the warmth of the flames contrasting with the cool air, Maya decides to confront her lingering anxieties. Do you ever feel like your past is just waiting for the right moment to catch up with you? She asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Jonah looks thoughtful, considering her words. Sometimes, yes, but I believe we have the power to define our futures, regardless of what has happened before. It's about facing those shadows, not letting them dictate who we are. Maya nods, appreciating his insight. I want to believe that. I've fought so hard to reclaim my life, but I can't shake the feeling that he's still out there." Jonah leans closer, his eyes earnest. "Then let's face it together. You're not alone in this, Maya. You never were." His words fill her with a sense of comfort, a reminder that she doesn't have to bear the weight of her past alone. In this serene space, away from the chaos, she resolves to confront her fears, to continue her journey toward healing without the shadows hanging over her. As the weekend progresses, they explore the surrounding landscape, hiking through lush trails and discovering hidden waterfalls. Each moment spent together solidifies their connection, but the underlying tension still lingers, a reminder of the darkness that may still loom over her life. On their last night at the cabin, as they sit together under a blanket of stars, Maya takes a deep breath, feeling a surge of vulnerability. "Jonah, I need to ask you something," she begins, her voice steady. "What if my past comes back to haunt me? What if I can't outrun it?" Jonah reaches for her hand, intertwining their fingers. "You're stronger than you realize, Maya. You've already faced so much, and you've come out the other side. I believe you can handle whatever comes next." Tears well in her eyes as his words sink in. "But what if it's too much? What if it breaks me?" "It won't," he assures her gently. "Whatever happens, we'll face it together. You're not alone anymore." In that moment, Maya feels a sense of liberation. The weight of her past begins to lift, replaced by the warmth of Jonah's unwavering support. She realizes that confronting her demons doesn't mean she has to do it alone. The journey toward healing is a shared one, and together, they can face whatever shadows lie ahead. As they prepare to leave the cabin, Maya feels a renewed sense of purpose. The weekend has reignited her passion for life, and she is determined to continue her journey of self-discovery and growth. She understands that the shadows may still linger, but they no longer hold the same power over her. When they return to the city, however, she is met with an unsettling surprise. An envelope lies on her doorstep, a familiar handwriting scrawled across the front. Her heart drops as she recognizes it. It's from her stalker. "Dear Maya," it begins, a shiver running down her spine. "You thought you could escape me, but I've only just begun. Your art will never truly set you free." Panic rises within her as she tears open the envelope, her hands trembling. Inside, she finds a collection of photographs, images of her at the gallery, candid shots that capture her moments of vulnerability and triumph. Each picture feels like a violation, a reminder that she is still being watched, still under the shadow of her past. "Maya," Jonah's voice pulls her from the depths of her fear. He steps closer, concern etched across his face. "What's wrong?" She holds up the photographs, her heart racing as the reality of her stalker's presence sinks in. "He's back," she whispers, her voice breaking. "He's watching me." Jonah's expression shifts from confusion to fierce determination. "We need to go to the police," he says firmly, his grip tightening around her. "We can't let him control your life any longer." Maya nods, fear and anger swirling within her. This is the moment of truth, the ultimate confrontation between her past and the life she is trying to reclaim. She knows that facing this darkness will require every ounce of strength she possesses, but with Jonah by her side, she feels a glimmer of hope. The drive to the police station feels surreal, as if the world outside is dimmed in color, leaving only shades of gray. Maya sits beside Jonah, her thoughts racing, her heart pounding in her chest. The photographs lie crumpled in her hand, their invasive nature a constant reminder of the battle she has been fighting. "What if they don't take me seriously?" She voices her fears, her voice barely above a whisper. Jonah glances at her, his expression unwavering. "You have to believe they will. This isn't just a personal matter anymore. It's a crime. You're not alone in this," he reassures her, his tone filled with conviction. His hand finds hers, squeezing it gently, an anchor in the storm of uncertainty. Arriving at the police station, the reality of the situation begins to sink in. They walk through the glass doors, the sterile environment contrasting sharply with the chaos in her mind. The buzz of voices, the sound of typing, and the smell of coffee create a backdrop that feels alien and intimidating. Maya approaches the front desk, her heart racing. "I need to report a stalker," she states, her voice steadier than she feels. The officer behind the desk looks up, his expression shifting to one of concern. "Can you please take a seat? I'll have someone come to speak with you," he says kindly, gesturing toward a waiting area. As they sit, Maya takes a deep breath, trying to calm the storm within. The minutes stretch into what feels like hours, and she can feel the weight of every gaze in the room. Jonah sits close, his presence a steadying force as she struggles to gather her thoughts. Finally, a detective approaches, his demeanor professional but approachable. "Maya, right? I'm Detective Harris. Let's talk about what's going on," he says, motioning for her to follow him to a more private office. Inside the small room, Maya feels the tension in her chest tighten. "I received this," she says, handing him the envelope filled with photographs. "It's from someone who has been stalking me. I thought I had gotten away from him, but he's still here." Detective Harris examines the photos carefully, his brow furrowing. "Can you tell me about the history? How long has this been going on?" Maya recounts the events leading up to this moment, the threats, the fear, the constant feeling of being watched. She sees the concern in Jonah's eyes as she opens up, the weight of her past finally spilling into the light. After sharing her story, Detective Harris leans back in his chair, thoughtful. "I understand how terrifying this must be for you, but we can help. I recommend filing a restraining order and documenting every instance of harassment. We need to build a solid case," he advises. Maya nods, feeling a flicker of hope amidst the fear. "I just want it to stop. I want my life back." The detective assures her that they will take her case seriously. As they leave the police station, a wave of exhaustion washes over her, but she knows that taking this step is crucial for her healing. Jonah walks closely beside her, a silent guardian, as they step back into the world. As the days go by, the anxiety of waiting becomes almost unbearable. Maya immerses herself in her artwork, using each brushstroke as a form of therapy. The gallery buzzes with activity as she prepares for a new exhibition, determined to reclaim her narrative. Yet, the shadows of her past still loom, a constant reminder of the struggle she faces. One evening, while working late in her studio, Maya receives a text from Jonah. "I'm coming over. We need to talk." The urgency in his message sends a shiver down her spine. She quickly cleans up her workspace, heart racing as she anticipates the conversation ahead. When Jonah arrives, his expression is serious. "I spoke with Detective Harris today," he begins, the gravity of his tone settling in the room. "They've had some leads on your stalker." Maya's heart quickens, hope and fear colliding. "What do you mean?" she asks, anxiety creeping into her voice. "Your stalker has been spotted near the gallery. They're taking this seriously, but they need your help to identify him. We might need to set up a sting operation," he explains. The thought of confronting her stalker sends chills down her spine, but deep down, Maya knows this is a necessary step. "What do I have to do?" she asks, her voice steadier than she feels. "We'll have a police presence nearby while you're at the gallery. They'll be watching for any suspicious behavior," Jonah reassures her. "You won't be alone. I'll be right there with you." As the day of the exhibition approaches, the tension builds, and Maya is consumed with anticipation. She's excited to share her work, but terrified of what might happen. The night of the exhibition, the gallery is alive with energy, guests mingling and admiring the pieces that reflect her journey. Maya takes a deep breath as she enters the gallery, Jonah by her side. The warmth of the crowd envelopes her, and she feels a sense of empowerment as she engages with attendees. Yet, her heart races every time she catches a glimpse of someone lingering near the entrance. Hours pass, and the atmosphere becomes electric with laughter and conversation. Maya begins to lose herself in the joy of sharing her art, each piece telling a story of resilience and growth. But the thrill of the night is abruptly shattered when she notices a figure standing at the back of the gallery, a familiar silhouette cloaked in shadows. Her heart drops as she recognizes him. "Jonah, he's here," she whispers, panic rising within her. Jonah's expression hardens, and he quickly scans the room. "Stay close to me," he says, his voice steady yet urgent. The man's gaze is fixed on Maya, a predatory intensity that sends chills down her spine. She feels exposed, vulnerable under the weight of his stare. Her heart races as Jonah leads her to a safer spot, positioning himself protectively in front of her. "Is everything okay?" a guest asks, noticing her distress. "Just give us a moment," Jonah replies, his tone firm as he remains focused on the stalker. As the situation escalates, Detective Harris and his team move into position, their eyes trained on the figure lurking at the edge of the crowd. The tension is palpable, a thick blanket of dread that envelopes the room. Suddenly, the stalker steps forward, his face twisted with rage. "You think you can escape me? You think your art will save you?" he shouts, his voice cutting through the atmosphere like a knife. Maya's breath hitches, and she feels Jonah's presence beside her, grounding her. "You need to leave now," Jonah asserts, stepping toward the man with an unwavering resolve. "You're not welcome here." But the stalker doesn't back down. "I won't let you take her from me," he screams, his fury escalating. "You don't know what you're getting into." At that moment, Detective Harris and his team spring into action, their authoritative voices commanding the attention of the room. "Sir, you need to step outside. We need to talk to you," Harris instructs, approaching the man with a calm, yet firm demeanor. Maya watches as the situation unfolds, a whirlwind of emotions swirling within her. She feels a mixture of fear, anger, and determination. This is the climax of her battle against the shadows that have haunted her for so long. With the police officers closing in, the stalker's bravado falters, and he glances around at the guests, a realization dawning on him that he's been outnumbered. "You'll regret this, Maya," he sneers, backing away slowly, his eyes filled with fury. "Not if I can help it," she mutters under her breath, feeling the power of her own resolve. As the officers apprehend him and escort him outside, a wave of relief washes over Maya. The threat that had loomed over her for so long has finally been confronted. In that moment, surrounded by her art and the support of Jonah, she feels a sense of triumph. But as the dust settles, Maya knows this battle isn't over yet. The road to healing will require patience, courage, and the willingness to confront her past time and time again. Yet, with each challenge faced, she grows stronger, more resilient, and ready to embrace the future she has fought so hard to reclaim. The atmosphere in the gallery shifts dramatically as the police lead the stalker away, tension giving way to a collective sigh of relief. The murmur of conversations resumes, but the incident lingers in the air like an unwelcome shadow. Guests exchange bewildered glances, processing the drama they just witnessed, while Maya stands at the center, a whirlwind of emotions churning within her. Jonah remains close, his presence a reassuring shield against the chaos. "Are you okay?" he asks, concern etched on his face as he gently grips her shoulders, grounding her. Maya nods, but the tremor in her voice betrays her. "I can't believe that just happened," she replies, the weight of the night's events settling heavily on her shoulders. "I feel shaken." "You handled it incredibly well," Jonah reassures her, his eyes filled with admiration. "You faced your worst fear, and you stood your ground. That's something to be proud of." As the reality of the confrontation sinks in, Maya feels the adrenaline begin to fade, leaving behind a mixture of exhaustion and relief. She takes a moment to gather herself, breathing deeply to center her thoughts. "Let's step outside for a minute," Jonah suggests, sensing her need for a breather. They make their way to the gallery's outdoor patio, where the night air feels cooler against her flushed skin. Once outside, Maya leans against the railing, staring into the dark expanse of the city. The lights twinkle like stars, but they offer little comfort against the shadow that still lurks in her mind. What if he comes back? What if this isn't over? She voices her fears, feeling vulnerable and exposed. Jonah stands beside her, unwavering. "We'll figure it out. The police are involved now, and they'll keep a close watch. You're not alone in this. Remember that." His voice is steady, a reminder of the support she has in him. Maya glances at him, grateful for his presence. "Thank you for being here," she says softly, her voice tinged with sincerity. "I don't know what I would have done without you tonight." Jonah turns to her, his expression serious. "You're stronger than you realize, Maya. You've been fighting this battle for so long, and you've come so far. Just remember, it's okay to lean on me when you need to." As they stand together under the starry sky, Maya feels the weight of her emotions start to shift. She's ready to confront the aftermath of her confrontation and begin the healing process. The following days are a whirlwind of emotions. Maya finds herself grappling with a mixture of relief and anxiety. The police keep her updated, assuring her that they are monitoring the situation and that her stalker is facing serious charges. Yet, despite the assurance, she struggles to shake the feeling of vulnerability. Art becomes her refuge once more. She pours her feelings into her canvases, expressing the whirlwind of emotions that accompany her journey. Each brushstroke becomes a release, a way to channel her fears and frustrations into something beautiful. Yet, the memories of the night linger like an unwelcome guest. In moments of solitude, she often finds herself replaying the confrontation in her mind, analyzing every detail, every word. She knows she needs to process these feelings, but it's a difficult path. One afternoon, while working in her studio, she receives a text from Jonah. "Want to grab dinner? We need to celebrate your strength." Maya smiles at the thought of a distraction and quickly replies, "Absolutely. Let's do it." They meet at a quaint restaurant that boasts a cozy atmosphere. The dim lighting and soft music create a warm ambience that contrasts sharply with the chaos she has felt in her life recently. As they settle at their table, Jonah's easy smile begins to ease the tension in her chest. Over dinner, they share laughter and stories, and for the first time in days, Maya feels a sense of normalcy returning. Jonah listens attentively as she shares her artistic process, and she finds comfort in the way he engages with her passion. "Your art is a reflection of your strength," he says, his eyes sparkling with admiration. "I can see how much you've grown through it." His words resonate deeply with her. "It's been my outlet," Maya admits, a sense of vulnerability creeping in. "But sometimes I feel like I'm still not free. I worry that the shadows will always follow me." "Those shadows might always be a part of you, but they don't define you," Jonah counters gently. "You have the power to shape your story, Maya. You've already faced so much, and look at you now." As the evening unfolds, Maya realizes how much she has leaned on Jonah, not just for support, but also as a source of inspiration. His unwavering belief in her resilience fuels her determination to keep moving forward, despite the lingering shadows of her past. After dinner, they take a stroll through a nearby park, the cool breeze invigorating her senses. The moon hangs high in the sky, casting a gentle glow over everything, and for a moment, she allows herself to feel the weight lift. As they walk, Jonah suddenly pauses, looking serious. "I know you've been through a lot, but I want you to know that I'm here for the long haul. I'm not going anywhere." His words fill her with warmth, and she feels a swell of gratitude. "Thank you, Jonah. I really appreciate that. It means more to me than you know." The two continue their stroll, and as they pass a bench, Jonah gestures for them to sit. "I have something to share with you," he says, his voice earnest. Maya's heart skips a beat, curiosity piqued. "What is it?" "I've been thinking about how I can best support you, and I realize that it might help if we find a way to channel your experiences into something positive. How about we host an art therapy workshop together? You could guide others through their journeys, just as you're navigating yours." The idea takes her by surprise, and Maya's eyes widen in astonishment. "That's a brilliant idea, but do you really think people would come?" "I believe they would. Your story is powerful, and sharing it could help others find their own strength," Jonah insists, his enthusiasm infectious. As they discuss the logistics of the workshop, Maya feels a spark of inspiration ignite within her. The thought of using her art to help others heal resonates deeply, allowing her to see her past struggles in a new light. The days following their dinner become a flurry of planning and excitement. Together, they design the workshop, combining art and therapy to create a safe space for participants to explore their emotions through creativity. As the date approaches, Maya feels a renewed sense of purpose. Hosting this workshop allows her to channel her experiences into something meaningful, transforming her pain into healing for others. On the day of the workshop, Maya stands in front of a group of eager participants, her heart racing with a mix of nerves and excitement. The room is filled with vibrant colors, art supplies, and a palpable sense of anticipation. She feels a sense of responsibility to guide them through their journey, just as Jonah had supported her. "Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here," she begins, her voice steady. "Today, we're going to explore the healing power of art and how it can help us navigate our emotions." As she leads them through exercises and discussions, Maya begins to feel the shadows recede, replaced by a sense of empowerment. The stories shared by participants echo her own experiences, and she realizes she's not alone in this journey. By the end of the workshop, participants express their gratitude, sharing how the experience has touched them. Maya feels a warmth in her heart, knowing that she has made a difference. In the following weeks, as the workshop becomes a regular event, Maya continues to grow in her healing journey. She learns to embrace her past and the shadows that come with it, no longer allowing them to define her. With Jonah by her side, she forges ahead, determined to carve out a future filled with hope and creativity. The sun rises on a new day, casting a warm golden hue over Maya's studio, a place that has transformed into a sanctuary of creativity and healing. The memories of her past are still there, but they no longer cast a shadow over her spirit. Instead, they have become part of the tapestry of her journey, each thread woven with strength and resilience. Today marks the day of her first art exhibition since the incident. Maya stands in front of her canvas, the final piece that encapsulates her journey, the struggle, the fear, the healing. It depicts a powerful phoenix rising from ashes, symbolizing rebirth and renewal. She steps back, taking a moment to absorb the beauty of her creation, feeling an overwhelming sense of pride. As guests begin to arrive, the gallery buzzes with excitement. Maya moves through the crowd, greeting friends, family, and fellow artists who have come to support her. Jonah is right by her side, his presence a steady anchor in the whirlwind of emotions. "Look at you, the star of the show," he teases, a proud grin on his face as he hands her a glass of sparkling water. "I can't believe this day is finally here," Maya replies, her voice tinged with disbelief. "It feels surreal." Jonah leans closer, his voice low. "You deserve this moment. Every brushstroke, every emotion you poured into your art, it's all led to this." The exhibition unfolds beautifully, each painting telling a story of its own, inviting viewers into her world. People move from one piece to the next, captivated by the depth and emotion in her work. The energy is electric, filled with admiration and support. As the evening progresses, Maya finds herself surrounded by a group of guests, sharing the inspiration behind her art. "This piece represents my journey of overcoming fear and embracing my strength," she explains, her heart racing with each word. "Art has been my voice, helping me navigate through darkness and into the light." Her words resonate with those around her, sparking meaningful conversations about resilience, healing, and the power of creativity. As she watches others connect with her story, she feels a sense of fulfillment wash over her. At one point, a woman approaches, her eyes glistening with emotion. "Your art has touched me deeply. I've been struggling with my own battles, and seeing your work gives me hope," she confesses, her voice trembling. Maya reaches out, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone in this. We all have our struggles, but sharing our stories can lead to healing." The woman nods, gratitude evident in her expression. "Thank you for sharing your journey. It's inspiring." As the night continues, Maya and Jonah steal a moment away from the crowd, stepping onto the balcony that overlooks the city. The view is breathtaking, the twinkling lights reflecting the stars above. "I'm so proud of you," Jonah says, his eyes shining with admiration. "You've turned your pain into something beautiful, and you're helping others do the same." Maya leans against the railing, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without you. Your support has meant the world to me." Jonah takes a step closer, his gaze intensifying. "You're the one who fought this battle, Maya. You're the one who turned the darkness into light. Just remember that." In that moment, Maya feels a rush of emotion, the weight of her past lifting as she embraces her future. She knows there will still be challenges ahead, but she is no longer defined by them. Instead, she has transformed her pain into purpose, creating a ripple effect of hope. As the evening comes to a close, Maya stands in front of her paintings, reflecting on the journey that brought her here. The gallery is filled with laughter, conversation, and the sounds of celebration. Each smile, each story shared, serves as a reminder of the strength she has discovered within herself. As she prepares to say her final goodbyes to guests, Maya steps up to the microphone, feeling the weight of the moment. "Thank you all for coming tonight," she begins, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "This exhibition isn't just about my art. It's about the power of community, support, and resilience. Together, we can turn our struggles into strength." The crowd applauds, their appreciation echoing through the gallery. In that moment, Maya knows she is not alone. She has built a community of support, and they are all walking this path together. As the last guests begin to leave, Jonah pulls her aside. "Are you ready to celebrate?" he asks, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Absolutely. Let's go out and have some fun," Maya replies, her spirit lifted. They head to a nearby cafe, the celebration continuing in the warmth of friendship and joy. Laughter fills the air as they reminisce about the night, each shared story a reminder of how far Maya has come. As they settle into their seats, Jonah leans back, a content smile on his face. "I have to say, this is just the beginning for you. You have so much more to give to the world," he encourages. Maya takes a sip of her drink, contemplating his words. "You really think so?" she asks, curiosity dancing in her eyes. "I know so. You have a gift, Maya. Your art has the power to inspire others, and your story is one that needs to be told. Let's keep sharing it," Jonah suggests, his tone filled with conviction. The warmth of his belief washes over her, and for the first time in a long while, Maya feels a flicker of excitement about the future. "You're right. I want to keep creating, keep sharing my story. I want to help others find their own strength through art." Jonah grins, his enthusiasm contagious. "Let's make it happen. Together, we can create something amazing." In that moment, Maya feels a renewed sense of purpose. The shadows of her past may still linger, but they no longer have the power to dictate her life. With Jonah by her side, she is ready to embrace whatever the future holds. As they finish their drinks, Maya reflects on the journey that has brought her here. The struggles, the fear, the healing, and ultimately, the strength she has discovered within herself. With every stroke of her brush and every story shared, she knows she is forging a path of hope, not just for herself, but for others who may be walking a similar road. As they leave the cafe, the night is alive with possibilities. Maya looks up at the starry sky, a smile blooming on her face. This is her moment, a new dawn filled with hope, creativity, and the promise of a brighter future. Don't forget to subscribe in the channel and like the video for more contents.